Give your heart to Jesus, let it take control. Just sit and worship. I know it hurts you, and I know it's painful. No way to wait, so you have to let it go. Your best friend is not your secret anyways. Let it go. Your wife is getting married to another man. Your husband fall in love with another woman.
What a beautiful Friday here to welcome. I'm Alfonso Zain, so right here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio. And Mr. Ty Rabotai Zawood will say to welcome. He's on the top 10, our top 10 fans. He has maintained that position for a considerable time. Let's listen to this music here. It's going to be a crazy night here because the liberal vow to unleash.
Be a prostitute. They will say you will continue to be a beggar. You will not marry. You will not bear your own children. They will say your need is not borrowed.
It's a good Friday and welcome. Let's talk Liberia. Let's talk the hardcore politics here. The building behind me here is on the center stage in Liberia.
Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go.
Zubele bem. Well, I want to be a musician. I'm going to do multiple things here this evening here because our country, the direction, the turmoil is on. The best of political commentators, pundits, analysts, they are standing by to dissect and put that into context. But we are going to do it both because what? It is not their own. It is not their country. It is not my country. It's all of us country. But we're going to have some critical discussion here this evening. And the liberal vow to come strong. He is projecting this idea as a 3 or 4% against one. That's not the case.
You boy, reading power every day. Now, while I'm still a good boy.
I will keep on praying. This life you see so. Make it cheese and it come. Some days I do. The other one denied.
Oh, here we go. To our many viewers, listeners across the globe, wherever you are, in the USA, in Liberia, on planet Earth, we want to welcome you to this informative news magazine. I'm Alfonso Zayansot of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv, filling in for the Libra. He doesn't know this, and he wants to act like he knows it. But I'm waiting for it here. We're going to let the glove off here. What is happening in Supreme Court, we're going to finalize here this evening, believe me. Amos George is our senior contributor. Political pundit is based in Atlanta, Georgia. Professor Asese Labozalo hopefully will be joining us and the rest of best team. Analysis, objective, fair, balance, keeping the news proportional. Happening in Liberia. Brandon J. Samuka, the former Minister of National Defense, former police chief, is fighting a political battle. That is ongoing. We're going to be discussing all of that. The Supreme Court new verdict. Ooh, what is happening in Liberia? A lot is going. This is just the prelude of what's going to be happening comes 2023, because the presidential is going to be in 3/4. The presidential and both legislative seats will all be contested. Okay, I see my man Mikey coming here, one of the strong allies of the Liberal who vowed to take on us here. But I'm telling you, tonight we're going to have it all mixed up for him. And we're going to do that. Welcome, Eleanor Bartlett, and all of our fans, viewers, listeners across the globe. Welcome to the talking point. Let's see here what's happening. And let's give you a little gist of what happens today in Liberia, from the court. And we're going to bring it here, and we're going to have a discussion here as well, as our guys are coming gradually. That's the former Defense Minister of the Republic of Liberia, J. Brandon Samuka. Let's have this here and see here. Let's listen to this.
Honorable Numale will be here to speak to you briefly, who will tell you exactly what would be our next step or what would be a project of action for us. So, Honorable Numale, welcome, sir. Welcome to the media. The Supreme just ruled that Senator Brandon Samuka should not be.
By the way, that's courtesy of our sister network television. Jim Good from doing an extraordinary job there at the Temple of Justice. Let's listen.
Well, we wanted to say a little bit all of our supporters, all those well because of that.
Unspecified political consequences. Let's listen a little bit to give you a clear sense of what is happening.
Senator, welcome as it relates to the ruling for the Supreme Court. You were I think representing the purpose of the Senate caucus. I come as a chair of that Senate caucus. All the senators, I am the chair of the I come to say I am here to represent our colleague, Brandon Samuka, who we believe is only a matter of time to join us. So, I believe that the approach that we have prepared going through all the process is simply a process. It is our belief. 18 years ago, we took a decision.
Going here, let's get it going here. Let's get a conversation going. Joining me here from Atlanta, Georgia, is senior contributor to the Liberia Public Radio Political Pundit. Mr. Amos George is here with me, and the rest of the crew. Hopefully, they're going to be here. Pa George, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Okay. Unspecified political consequences. That's the second time perhaps I'm hearing that word. You remember you're going to meet up with National Civil Response in that interview with Senator Prince Yomi Johnson. So there's some sort of similarity here. Words being used. That's why politicians, that's their job. They always try to restructure it and modify what. Okay, joining this forum here, I told you you're going to be a heavy one here. Professor Asese Labozalo is an advocate, educator, involved in multitudes of roles in community associations, as well as owners of 2 schools in Liberia, in the nation capital, and Esete allows in calling that name Kakata. That's where it's here. So let me bring in the professor here. Let's see here. By the way, let me just give you the guy the G's here. The undercover sedition, the liberal progressive, that was the identity given to him recently. He said, he told us, he called me that he's coming to lash us out instead of us discussing this conversation here. I'm just giving you the guys the gist. Don't tell him. Okay, gentlemen, welcome to this conversation here. Filling in for the liberal progressive, as usual, I'm Afonso Zienso. Look, the time is fast spent here. It's 8:17 Eastern Standard Time. We are all on the same time block here, but let's have the conversation. I guess, and you guys saw the images from the Supreme Court of Liberia. The political future of former Defense Minister Brani Samuka is bleak. He might get through but he's just going through a tough time here. You heard a lady there talking. People, the anger is over the roof. You heard a defense team, there will be an unspecified political consequences because there's a hook being put on his certification now from the higher court of the land. And he should be going, I believe, on the 26th, be going to the criminal court now to where there's disability, liability, or whatever being put on there here. I try to get a few lawyers to get the full context of that and all of that here. But let us play the hardball here. Amos George.
Yeah.
Here we are. I don't know what going to be the decisions of next appearing. We don't know what's going to happen. But we are already getting the soundbite that there will be an unspecified. The Lothians, if I did hear that woman saying here, I don't know whether it's the president who they were referring to, they're going to black the place. But it seems to me the tone of Senator Prince Yomi Johnson in that interview with James Botte be a national civil response. And when James Botte asked him what he mean, he said there will be a national civil response. There's a similarity in the context of those 2 words that we are hearing now. What is your biggest take here?
I just want to say something here, but I want to get hold of the ruling first that the Supreme Court made about Brani Samuka the last time. what led to them to make that decision that he should make full restitution of the money and they gain time to make a half payment. So I had not gone back to that room to look at it to say that if he paid the money, he will be certificated, or if he had to pay water, he will be certificated. But this is what I see. And many people will not turn to agree with me. What is happening in Liberia with this Prime Minister Samoka issue? The Supreme Court must be very clear on this issue. Let it go back to the last ruling they made and see what it says. If they stated that Prime Minister will pay this money and we take his seat, whether a partial payment or the whole amount, let it be very clear to the letter. And let me say this to people. I will say this, and many people don't want to hear it. Mr. So, this is how the trouble starts in the country. People are saying, hey, we don't want no more war. We don't want no more this. But these are the kind of things that lead to this conflict. If the court make a decision, let it stand by that ruling. But they should not set the country up again to go into chaos. I'm saying this. We'll work out one money. If we don't care about one money, we'll get out. They said there's a coup in Liberia. I'm saying no. I got no information, but what I see playing out, if people are not careful in that country, something will happen in that country. Before everybody talk, it will be a history. And I'm saying it tonight. The court must be very careful on this issue. If the ruling says that Bernie Sanders got paid the money and should not take his seat, I will go back to see the ruling. But if they said that he should pay a partial portion and should take his seat, let it just go by that ruling. Because this thing is boiling small. One money, someone crazy person can get up and do something in that country, and we'll all be saying, oh, we didn't see this coming. But we see it already breeding. We see it already breeding. And my suggestion, or what I'm thinking the court should do, let the court be very forceful coming in this issue. They should not play politics with the life of the people, of Liberian people. These are the kind of things that bring trouble into the country. Again, people might be sounding foolish, but this is very serious. Nobody got any guarantee in Liberia that nobody can do this yet. We don't, nobody, none of us have that guarantee. What you must be thinking of is different. What someone in that place or group thinking of is quite the opposite. So this is not good for our country. It's not good. If the court, if they want this man to pay the money and take his seat, let him make that judgment. If any other citizen has any reservation, they can go to the court to file a claim. But I don't want the Supreme Court to start playing with our lives, our people's lives.
Okay.
We suffered 14 years. We don't want it to come back. And the only way we can stop it, those who are in position to make decisions must be forthcoming and upright to make this decision. Not to play a game with the people's lives again. But I'm saying it.
Okay. You're saying it. I want to stop you guys. There was an ambush alert that I issued way ahead of time before this conversation started. And he's here. I don't know what's going to be his intro in this sort of consequential conversation here. But we all know him. You know him. I know him. Professor Zawla know him. He's very calculative. He always tries to brand people and try to define you to fit in his category. which of course he doesn't really get the leeway to do that here, especially when I'm here. However, he's one of us. There's no way we can push him out. No babu for a child. Let's welcome the liberal progressive Samson Bloku Branto, and we'll get the conversation. What a good intro. The liberal, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Saul. Good evening, CDC Professor. Good evening, Mr. George Center Wright. We're here again tonight. I want to thank all of you for this wonderful conversation. It's a very serious one. And these are things that if our brothers and sisters are not careful, we can sit here all day and try to make all of the noise. If they cannot see, there's nothing we can do here to help them. And the only help we're going to do, if God forbid, if they don't see the seriousness of this thing, then perhaps. But we're here to discuss this. Let's get the ball rolling. Thank you very much for welcoming me. I appreciate that.
Wow. Okay, here we go. Okay, first come, first serve. You came last, so don't think you're going to jump in the middle of this conversation here. Professor, you were listening keenly, and I'm quite sure you are processing the argument of Mr. George here. This is well overdue. You wake up, Temple of Justice. You wake up, NEC. The next day, J. Browning Samuka. Money has been collected. It's been raised all over to come to the rescue. To let the guy to take his seat. They went to the Supreme Court today. The Supreme Court said, okay, this is not actually a rare car. There is still a wrong, but hey, this is how the process, the law going to play out. But we are hearing other folks, citizens, I assume Lothians or supporters of Branding Samuka, who perhaps have discontent with what is ongoing right now, losing patience, losing balance, and finding it very difficult to process what is happening. But some words we are getting, unspecified consequences. Those words came before a couple of years ago with Prince Johnson, who ended us to somersault and went your way. That is okay. What do you make of what is unfolding right now?
What is unfolding right now is a major test of our jurisprudence, our legal system. I will first of all opine on the legal aspects, and then I will come in to provide my own suggestions, which I think will put our country forward. The first and foremost is that I think there are two issues involved here. There's a criminal issue, and there's a constitutional issue here. Constitutional issue has to deal with whether a person who's convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor, or whatever the situation will be, has a standing to participate as a candidate in an election. The second part of the constitutional issue is that whether after that person served the consequences, the time, whether that person can be allowed to take a seat that was earned while the person was, indicted or convicted of some felony. Those are the two constitutional issues that has to be resolved. The Supreme Court, which I believe is not an activist court, I think the Supreme Court, the presence of legal minds, legal scholars, and so I trust them. I trust that they will opine correctly on the constitutionality of those two issues. And then I will say to the Nigerian people that the utterances of the Supreme Court are sacrosanct. It cannot be an issue of a menace or on the part of any individual. No one is above the law in Nigeria. No one can challenge the ruling of the Supreme Court as the highest decision-making body in the land, whether we like it or not. Now, so that talk about the constitutionality. Now, the issue about restitution of money that the Supreme Court, I have my own perspective of the money issue, which I've communicated yet. I don't think Brian Samuka, maliciously misapproved. I don't think so. I may not be right because maybe I don't have some facts that others have. Because every time when I see this, I get some calls from some of my friends who tell me, "Oh, Prof, have you read the Supreme Court?" I read it sufficiently to think that embezzle the money. There are some technical issues. His legal team was extremely weak in providing a good case for him. And so he was convicted. And so we can't question the conviction. It was it. The court ruled. And he has to observe the ruling of the court. Now, whether the ruling of the court indicated that he should pay partial payment or full payment of it, I don't remember. I have to go and read it. And then once that is certified, like I indicated to you, there will be a constitutional issue, whether being convicted for for whatever you're convicted for, whether he could even run, whether you're even supposed to be allowed to run. That's another issue. That whether Nick did his homework. Those are issues that happen to me. But let me say this. Look, I'm not worried about threats from a minute portion of our population. The people of Lpr, as you know, are definitely split on that issue. Some of them voted for Barney Sambuca, some of them did not vote for Barney Sambuca. So no one individual or no one group of people can be out there sending threats that if this is not done, there will be unspecified actions. In hindsight, I would want to say the security forces should invite those people for explanation. But I think those are the ranting of disgruntled individuals for any kind of ability to inflict any kind of harm on Liberia. And so we shouldn't waste our time calling them for any kind of explanation. But my hope in this situation will be that the president, I will beg the president publicly, I've said it, I will beg the president that as soon as the Supreme Court or whatever the lower court makes its ruling, and it reaches the position where the president has the power to grant clemency, I will publicly appeal to the president to grant clemency to Barney Sambuca and let him take a seat and serve the people of his country. That will be my appeal to the president of the year. I think that will be good for our country. I think that will be a major, I think that will serve our democracy well. And because I think the lesson would have been learned by that point, when we have exhausted all the legal remedies and the president comes with and the president is in a position to grant a clemency, I think our constitution would have served well, and I think the country will be served well. The president granted Barney Sambuca clemency. So I want to make a public appeal to the president to be thinking in that direction.
You're making a public appeal to the president, timely, conscience, or humanitarian intervention. In fact, the Director Helen Cochran, who is now already behind the bar, so the president can do the same. He's the guy that granted Helen Cochran.
The president granted Helen Cochran.
They waived that, right?
They didn't grant her clemency. I think what the legal people thought was that the government did not make up a good case. So the previous government did not hand them sufficient evidence and documents that would have allowed them to effectively prosecute that case. And so they kind of said, you know what, we'll just step aside from it.
Okay, we're not going to make up apples and oranges here. They also have the ability to pursue that. But let me just bring in the Liberal. The Liberal.
Yeah, Mr. So.
You have also taken a discussion extensively relative to Barney J. Sambuca, the former Minister of National Defense. He occupies high-profile government positions, and with this whole thing here, I feel bad because I see him to be used like a sacrificial lamb. Because Helen Johnson Sirleaf, we assume whose order the minister was acting, 2 meetings were held. One at President Dr. Weah's residence and that of Helen Johnson Sirleaf. I'm saying this to say for fact because the spokespersons of Barney Sambuca did appear on this network. Some of the documents just saw that. We don't know what else happened behind the scene, behind the camera, and he's now going through a nightmare with his seat. What you make of today's ruling from the Supreme Court? There's a hook, and I hear one more step to go, even though $100 some more thousand has been paid for this guy to take a seat.
Thank you, Mr. So I would take a little bit a different view on this, but of course I do agree with CDC professor. If he has a way, and if the president will listen to him, that would be the best thing to do for just for peace sake in the country. Of course, that's what our people always say. But like I said, I would take a different view on this. In my view, it's going to be a little bit stronger. Let's put it this way: in condemnation, that is, against the government. To be honest with you, this whole issue, and I have had extensive conversation on this issue here as well. This thing did not happen in vacuum. This thing did not happen overnight. We know this story. The former president, through her engagement with other colleagues of her overseas or over other country, what have you, and they asked that we, in a sense, contributed to your saving from the Civil War, and now we have issue. We want Liberia to participate, and she agreed. And when she got back, she didn't consult her. According to the story, she didn't consult her defense ministry and what have you, the army people. And when she agreed, but that's what they do. Even in roads and things, they go to community. The community says they want road. Yeah, we'll put a road there. They don't ask how and where and what will happen. They just say we will, and they come back and say you'll put a road over there. That's what it's. So when she did that, she came back, and the good minister said, "But Madam President, we don't have the budgetary allotment for these kinds of stuff." And of course, you heard the president, the former president, the current president, and even Mr. Samuka. There's a video of Mr. Samuka explaining all of that. That the president, they asked him then the war, let's see if the army pension, they're not using it right now. What can we use that? Because we have to send people. These people came to our aid when we needed them. We can't just leave it now. So they did that. He didn't use the money for himself. You can say he followed, without hesitating, he followed the wrong idea. Okay, I agree. But he didn't use the money for himself, number one. The second thing, and the most important one, before the incoming presidents got the chance to sit behind the presidential desk, there was a conversation between the outgoing president and the incoming president of some of the outstanding issues. And one of those outstanding issues is about this same money issue that we're talking about, where the outgoing president explained to the incoming president effectively, which of course the incoming president did find reason to agree with the explanation and even volunteer his government will pay certain portion of the money, which was 400 and some more dollars. Other people say 400,000, other people say 460,000. The president paid. If you know that this man have done something that is so illegal, why were you then, as president of the Republic of Liberia, pay some of that money back? Are you then contributing to the ill will, as you call it, against the, from Samukai? Are you contributing to the criminal behavior of Samukai, if you want to call it as such? I don't think so. Samukai issue, according to what I know, and like I said, I did a whole 2-hour show on this here, not just one time, 3-4 times already. Samukai issue, from my perspective, was the fact that he decided to go against CDC opposition or whatever it is in Lofa County. They didn't press the issue then because they thought, well, you know, they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said he can run. If the Supreme Court also think that he has serious issue, well, they know what they were doing. They know the law. So they allow him to run. And then when he won, oh no, everything else turned against him. Now, having said all of this thing, I also think, as things stands now, Samukai is not broke. Samukai is not destitute. Samukai is not going around looking for a job. That young man can go any part of the world, make good living still. He still have it within him. What I think, if this is what I think is happening, Samukai, we will then say Samukai is helping to build institution. By staying on this and not making noise, not bragging, not going on TV, not threatening anybody, or not threatening any action, but following the rule. They say go to court, he goes to court. If the court rule, he say, okay, what's the next step? He's building institutions. This quote that we have is in the paper all over the world, that this is a corrupt judicial system. And Samuka is helping to clean that corruption by showing faith in this institution that people call corrupt institution. Yeah, one other example. Samuka is supposed to be going to the lower court. Yes, the lower court judge. Nobody have asked him. The government have not petitioned him. Samuka have not. He's now going around getting ready and sending petition to these people to appear. These people have not made the ruling has not come out to say we're coming there. What have you? Now he's injecting himself in this affirmative action, whatever it is. Now he wants to be in the public's eyes, and whatever ruling that happened, whether for or against Samuka, people still gonna blame because you didn't come across as being neutral. So, Mr. So, this thing here, for me, I can see, I also agree with Mr. George that perhaps there's dangers in it. But for me, as somebody who believes in institution building, I think we will look back at this and actually congratulate Samukai that he's one of those who helped to straighten the judicial system in Liberia.
Let me just answer Mr. So. The constitutional aspect of this thing here has a very different dimension. Samuka was convicted by the lower court. He took an appeal to the Supreme Court. The lost appeal. Supreme Court ordered him to make full restitution of whatever amount that he used. They said 6 months, make this payment. Another 6 months, do the balance. That was the Supreme Court last ruling they gave. Samuka accepted that. Now, if that is the case, all Samuka need to do is to make full, to lay good on what the Supreme Court he said and do it. Now, if there's anybody that have a problem with Samuka, Freeman, Senior Freeman,
yeah,
talk an issue that Samuka is a convicted criminal. So, according to the Constitution, he cannot serve as senator. But then, if we go back to the Constitution, I think Article 21, okay, it says that any Liberian, any person who is convicted of a crime should be deprived of his right until they serve whatever penalty the court imposes on them. Once they serve, whether it's fine, whether it's jail time, once completion of that, then all the rights should be restored to them automatically. So if that is the case, if that is the case, I'm not a lawyer, but if that is the case, where is the standing of Mr. Freeman and others who say that he cannot go? Now, on the other side, if we want to speak of moral, I don't think 99.9% of the people in the Senate they should not be there. In Liberia, they should not be there.
But that's not the issue yet.
No, the issue I'm seeing more because the Freeman challenge is Samuka is a convicted criminal.
Yes, but let's get it right now. He's arguing based on the
on the legal aspect. He's not using morality. He's not making a moral argument. He's making a legal argument.
But that's a legal argument. The same Constitution says if anybody convicted of a crime, they should be deprived. They should be deprived of all the rights until fine posed by the court. Mm-hmm. Once they make full restitution or serve the term, it says automatically that person all legal rights should be restored.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, maybe there's another portion of the Constitution, maybe I will look. But if that is the case, then what right now do I have to say, no, this guy is a convicted criminal? And you, Professor Zawo, it's your word. You said that. Mm-hmm. You believe in what?
No, I said our system is a redemptive system.
A redemptive system. Now, Samuka has been convicted. If he paid this money, that means he has served his term. According to you, then he should be allowed.
Let me come in. Let me come in. Look, yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Hold on now. So that, let me just let then you come in. So that is the thing I'm seeing. Those are the constitutional issues now have to be settled. Now, but with the Supreme Court, what I did not hear from the Supreme Court to say that when they were giving that ruling that if you pay this money, you cannot say that as a senator. It was not mentioned in that ruling. So now,
because and I guess from the common sense and the reason the Supreme Court did not go, this thing here is started. The error started from the root up to where we are now, and the reason the Supreme Court would not go there because there's a criminal liability attached to it. So what is key here? The Supreme Court has done on a part. I'm waiting to see whether there will be another drama to unfold because.
But it's, the criminal court cannot. No, so the criminal court cannot.
You know, the criminal court see. You know that
they can't punish it again. Then
you're not a judge here. You based in you guys in Atlanta, Georgia. Y'all were trying to tamper with the election here in our country, in this country here. So we're not even going to take your
no.
Yeah, eating his own baby.
That's the Lpr sending me message now. I don't know why I'm passing his message. Say what you want to say.
Yeah. The criminal code now. The Supreme Court heard the judgment of the lower court.
He got a court pending on the 26th.
So now, the Supreme Court order that pay the money. So then what the local court now has to do?
Okay, well, that's a valid point, but
Yes,
that's the
Mr. Sewell.
Let a professor come in. Let a professor come to you, the liberal.
Yeah. Mr. Job, we're making the same argument. Even Samson came here. We're all making the same argument here. Look, here's the thing: if the lower court, if the penalty was that pay the fines, and then it's over, then once he pays the fine, it's over.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then the Supreme Court will act. You see, here's one of the things that's happening here. You see, people put this. You know, we say our criminal justice system is corrupt, but when we as citizens, we're already opining and trying to pass judgment on a case that is before the Supreme Court. But not only that, when we marry our opinions with threats, then we are compromising our very own judiciary system, which we know should be the fulcrum of our country, and that's dangerous. I think people are making judgment far ahead of the time. That's what I believe. I don't remember 100%. What was the ruling? What was the ruling? What was the sentence?
I will look for it tomorrow. Yeah,
if the sentence is saying that pay the fines and that's it, and there was nothing but jail time and no no suspended sentence, none of those things, then I believe that once that fine is paid, and the lower court can ascertain that the fines have been paid, and he takes the case to the Supreme Court will interpose no objection to him taking his seat in the Senate. That's how I see it's going to play out. But it's just dangerous. You know, it's a bad omen. It's a bad omen for citizens to gather in the street and already be threatening action, you know, even before such decisions are made. You know, it's just dangerous, and we shouldn't encourage that anyway. Look,
Mr. Soul, Mr. Soul, Mr. Soul.
It was not only, but I said this thing with Charles Gibson case. When Charles Gibson was nominated as Minister of Justice, there were a lot of people who came up and said Charles Gibson, he stole money from, he misused some money that was put in his trust.
He took clients' money and ate it. I want to do it.
But the fact of the matter was that the Supreme Court adjudicated, and Mr. Gibson complied with the rulings of the Supreme Court. So was he stay on a punishment of that?
So let me ask this question here, and it's not meant to cause.
No.
Hold on. I come in.
He made
I come in before I go to the liberal. Let me ask this question: are we here to smoke a peace pipe on this conversation, or who is here really want to uphold the laws of the land, to stick by what the law says? Because I'm quite sure after all of this here, I know there's other group that came out. What's the name of the group? Some sort of civil rights. And that one, the Supreme Court, they tried that one as well. But there's still a lot of unanswered question here. The liberal.
Mr. Soul, look, this is Friday afternoon. Our audience are here to listen to us, and our audience are here to see us having a genuine conversation. Forget this kumbaya stuff here tonight. We're not here for kumbaya, and I'm going to go right there to CDC professor. This is laughable, Mr. CDC professor, for you to sit here. CDC, the people who are known for threatening people, the people who are known for preaching violence during the election. These are people that carry casket on over their head. Mr. CDC professor, and you're going to say here that our brothers and sisters are in the mindset of trying to threaten people when they're there. Mr. CDC professor, this is I'm not going to sit here and let you run away with these kinds of things. This is the liberal, and we're not going to accept that. The people have the right to say whatever they want to say. Mr. CDC professor, you're not in any kind of position as a seditious. You're not in any kind of position to try to preach to us or lecture us on a violent and what have you. I don't subscribe to that, but our brothers and sisters have the right. Mr. Center Right and Mr. CDC professor, let me tell you guys this evening. Like I said, I'm not here for kumbaya here. You can say whatever you want to say about me, that's fine. I'm ready. This is what I'm going to tell all of you. This case, I came here thinking that perhaps we all were going to be on the same page here, trying to preach peace here tonight, and we will do so. However, for the CDC professor to now shift blame on people of Lofa County, these people are hurting. Mr. CDC professor, yeah, this is the serious matter for people of Lofa County. What happened to the 30,000? They don't even have their own 30,000. Mr. So please, they don't even have their own $30,000. Yeah. And you're gonna sit here and say, what have you? This man, he has done nothing. We should be thankful that Bonnie Samaka is not like some of your CDC people, because they would have been preaching violence. Our own man, Kochi, what did he do one time? People were not accusing him of going to, he said he was going behind the enemy line to retrieve his people. What enemy line in Liberia? Political issue, you call it enemy line? And this is what Bonnie Samaka is doing to us, and that we should be able to appreciate, sitting quietly and follow the law.
All right, this guy, his emotion, quick to go over the roof. It's ridiculous. Go ahead, Professor.
Mr. Toe, look, you see, then you are contradicting yourself. You see, you contradict yourself, because what we are saying over here is that, look, you said that Brandon Samoka should behave in the way that at the end of the day, he would be victorious, not only in the sense of, getting his seat, but he would have made our court to be, you expose our court, to force the court system to self-correct. Correct? Was that your statement?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if that is the case, then why then can he exhaust that?
Mr. CD, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. But how much more is the way the man? Why is he going back to come? For what reason? For what reason? But because he respects the rules, he respects the law, and that's why he's going back. He's not questioning anything. This man continue to present himself. Yeah, I am. Whatever you want me to do, the law. I'm here, and I'm going to obey. So
you want something else on the contrary, Mr. Cho?
But if you're suggesting that you don't think by his people, you don't think the action of his people by issuing these menaces could undermine his case, and even
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so.
All right.
Listen to what you are saying. Listen to what you are saying. I agree with you that he must exhaust all of his options within the criminal justice system. And I'm very positive that if the ruling was that he pays the money and then the case is over, I'm very positive that the Supreme Court will opine in that direction. And then the case will be solved.
Let me ask this.
The Supreme Court, before the Supreme Court take action, I think that's very dangerous.
So let me ask this question here before Pat George here, because I sent a message to the Solicitor General, and I hope that he will answer here. And here is the underwater question here, like a horse is underwater here. On what basis did the government, or what was he a friendly one? Was he on a humanitarian ground? On what basis did the president that 400-some-odd-thousand was even paid? What sort of arrangement is the court looking at that other aspect as well? Because it's something of a whole. Now, a little portion is government taking responsibility. I don't know whether that's his own personal money, but as long as it comes from the president, my best educated guess is government's intervention. And the court was already ongoing. Mr. Joy, so on what basis was that for a payment was made?
No, here's the thing here. I have said it over and over. President Weah helped to stir this thing up. Because when they were doing the turnover, if there's anything President Weah saw that he was not satisfied with, he would just say, okay, madam, I hear this, I see it. Let us sit down. We'll review the cases. We'll review one by one, case by case. But I don't want to say anything tomorrow that will jeopardize me or honor my government. I think that was the most diplomatic way to address President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. If this,
how can President Weah do that? I'm coming here. How can we make that sort of guess here that the president was?
No, I'm not making a guess.
Came, most of his ministers, they were asked to stay on.
Listen, no. There were 2 meetings. You heard it. 2 meetings.
Yes. One at Helen Johnson Sirleaf house and to the president house.
Yeah. So there was one more time for President Weah and his team to look at the cases and say, okay, Madam President, former President, I do agree, but these are government issues. Let's take it. We'll review the case by case, and I will be in touch with you when our government arrives at any decision. But he did not do it. They didn't do it. He came out to say, yes, my government take full responsibility of the money that he made some part payment. Once you did it like that, you muddy the water, you implicate yourself. Any decision now, listen, any decision now that they come to take, it will come by the point, and this is where we are now. But let me just read something to you. What the judge said. The judge said that in the law, he did not see anything to talk about prison sentence. So he said that is left with the sound mind of the lower court judge. You see that again? Yeah, right here.
So it seems to me somebody somewhere for
he said sound mind of the trial. He said sound mind of the trial court, giving consideration the facts and circumstances surrounding the commission and the crimes and defending previous record. You see the trouble there? The Supreme Court is saying now, in the law, there were no terms of prison, but it left with the lower court judge thinking to say what he's going to do.
Look, Senator Wright. This court here. Let me just say this: this court, they don't have a good standing in the eyes of the international community. Now, granted, the Chief Justice is doing his best to put this court in order. This is the same court that was taking, this government was taking to the ECOWAS court, having made a decision to remove illegally, remove a sitting justice. And the ECOWAS court then sent in the gallery of the judiciary system in Liberia. This is the same court that is now vacillating all over this place here. I hope the good Chief Justice will take hold of this case.
No,
hold on, Senator Wright, please. I am trying to make my point. This is not kumbaya. Don't say no or yes. I expect you to disagree with me. That's fine. But don't come here and try to say you want to sympathize with my position or what have you. That's fine. That's fine. Let me make my point. I know all three of you are against me, and I'm ready for it. So my point here is this. This court, the Chief Justice, who is the father of the legal system in Liberia, should take hold of this thing so it doesn't get out of hand. Because guess what? At the end of the day, Samukai will continue to advise his people to be lawful and take this government bite to ECOWAS court. If they come up with some kind of babati ruling against it, we'll go and bite to ECOWAS, and then we'll put another sin in the garri of the Liberian judicial system.
Mr. Toll, let me tell you, I give a hang about the ECOWAS court. I give a hang about the ECOWAS court. It's just a waste of time there.
Right.
It just boys are just there to drink beer and champagne and lay all with the good women. That's all they're there for. I don't give a hell.
Oh my goodness.
What I am concerned with is the life of our people. Yeah, the judge, the Supreme Court, you told me he must take court. Yeah, the Supreme Court judge and said the judge told since the prison term is not stated in the law.
Yeah.
That's the Supreme Court judge you're talking about. He kicking the can back to the lower court. So these are some of the things that are talking.
Mr. Josh.
The danger involved in these things here.
That's right.
The danger involved. You talking about ECOWAS court?
Yeah.
When people start here running hairstyle and moreover, what ECOWAS court will do?
Mr. Josh.
We want our people to take charge of this issue and resolve it amicably.
That's right.
CDC made noise yesterday. We want to change the system.
That's right.
We cannot go back to make the same noise. So, people that support Ganesh Samokan, I urge them to exercise restraint. Get away from the inflammatory statements.
This is the point you three are missing. Bonnie Samoka is in control of this whole system.
No.
Listen, Mr. George. Hold on. Watch any violence in this situation. All they say is we will do this, but behind the scene, we know who Bonnie Samoka is. Behind the scene, Bonnie Samoka continue to tell these people who are hurting, Lothian are hurting, and Bonnie Samoka continue to tell them, let's follow the law.
Mr. Toll, we don't come here with sympathy.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you're talking. The last week, you heard Steve Zacko making an irresponsible statement. The Bernie Samokan come to condemn me. You don't sit there and come to sugarcoat something. What I'm seeing, Bernie Samokan can be very quiet, but there's one stupid person in that place, led to be supporter, can cause trouble. That's what I'm saying. Let everybody exercise maximum.
You're not looking at this thing here from a whole broad perspective.
Hold on. Listen.
Okay, go ahead.
Professor, I'm coming to you, Professor. This is not radio tour time. If you think you're just going to be all over the place here, we're going to allow you to have a free ride.
The mayor is passionate.
It was good. George called you out here. Your former chairman, Liberty Party, came out that ECOWAS or people in the South regions proclaim. You even refuse to denounce that sort of regular statement that has the propensity. A sitting senator. We are having that's how you get country spoiled, and then you come back to hold people responsible. What a shame, the liberal. Professor, go ahead.
You know, the thing that people are not getting over there, you know, some people are coming up to make criticism. Look, here's what I'm saying. Look, Brandon Samoka case was screwed by his lawyers. And I'm not surprised because I have some questions about how lawyers are prepared in Liberia. I have serious questions about that. But I don't even understand, to be frank with you, I don't know why this case was in the criminal court. I don't see this case being a criminal case.
Explain.
It's an issue about interpretation of the power of your boss. Brandon Samoka was busy. I mean, there's a claim that certain money was misapplied. And that's the crux of this case. The crux of Brandon Samoka case is that he didn't embezzle the money. He may have misapplied the money based on the instruction of his boss.
The executive.
The chief executive. That's not a criminal case. His lawyer should have made sure and questioned the jurisdiction of the criminal court on this case.
So now let me ask you. You are a supporter of this government.
Yeah.
Do you think, because this is what I'm judging from now, Brownie's actions was based on the chief executive, who happens to be the president, Helen Johnson Sirleaf. Do you think in your political calculations, is the president foresee that too? That wait a minute, I need to understand where Brownie is coming from. I could live for here 6 years, 12 years, like how the seditions claim it to be. And sometimes other people will be here responsible because those people were my cabinet ministers, they are my directors, and they could be indicted within that same sort of thinking. Do you think the president understands that?
Mr. So, you're a smart man. And this has been
my
this has been my argument on this network.
The kumbaya are the highest tonight.
Commitment to maintaining our nascent democracy. This is new to us. It's in its embryonic stage. We have witnessed only one peaceful transition in a popular election. All those elections they had before the elections we had for that brought Ellen Johnson to power, they had questions. There were questions about them. This is the first peaceful transition of power. What message that we do not want to send? We do not want to send a message that when people leave power, they run the risk of being persecuted for every little thing. That's what I've
Why the president did not put this thing to a halt?
That's what I'm saying.
Why was intervention?
You made some points here. You talk about the government of Liberia decision to pay a portion of this money, to restitute a portion of this money. That is even problematic. And that's why some of my fellow people who are necessary, who share the same political ideology question, why do I keep making this argument that this case should end. Brandon Kamoka should be allowed to take his seat, and we move forward and learn from the errors that we made. The fact that a certain portion of this money was paid
by the president.
Why you can't call the president? Why you can't call who pays the money, Professor?
No, I said, well, listen, I don't know. The government of Liberia paid it. The government of Liberia we have paid it. That's clear. We know that. I'm not trying to be deceitful. No, I'm not. I'm being very honest about it. And so look.
So do you think he helps to create the problem while we into there?
I don't think he helped to create the problem, but what I think he can do is to mitigate the problems and send a message out there that look, our democracy is strong and is working. And besides our democracy being strong and working, we are operating along the lines of true, genuine reconciliation, peace and reconciliation. We need to move forward from these little things that divide us and begin to focus on the national agenda of building more schools, building more hospitals, building more roads.
Hold on. But Mr. So, let me just say this here quickly.
Folks,
I think if we're going to have a beautiful show tonight, we're not here to crown the king and what have you. This is not what I do. There's no kumbaya. And what Mr. The CDC professor have done here tonight is to crown you as king so he can get more airtime. And I'm very smart. I know about it. So I know exactly. But let me just tell you, he think you're very smart. Yeah, you're smart, but that doesn't mean you should give him time. Give us equal time. But I know about 3 of you sitting here tonight, as usual. I'm on my own. Let me say this again, Professor. You're quite right. We have institutions, and we're supposed to build those institutions. Everyone, the government, the private sector, and everybody else. Agree with me then that what Samoka is doing is helping to build the institution. Mr. George, Central Right, you made a statement earlier about Steve Zaku. Since Steve Zaku made that ridiculous statement, has he come out to make any other stuff? If Bonnie Samuka,
that's not the point. That's not the point.
No, that's the point, Mr. So. Just hold on. If Mr. Samuka was in the background pushing, that would have been the drum beat. But because Mr. Samukai do not allow these things to fester and carry on, they're not happening anymore.
No.
People who are making these statements, they are angry.
He didn't condemn it. That means he condoned it.
He doesn't have it. That's another Liberian. Mr. Sundar, are you sure you're not sedition? Are you sure you're not a sedition?
This is not.
He didn't condemn it. I mean, he can do because he didn't condemn it. Are you sure you're not sedition?
That way, it's not a wheelbarrow ball.
I understand that, but when you come out on this public platform, when you come out,
so if you make such a statement on behalf of Bernie Samoka should come to say no. condemn it or
Mr. Center Right, because he didn't condemn it, that means he condoned it. That sounds like CDC. That sounds like CDC. In fact, I'd like to see your voter registration card, by the way, if you have one.
How would you determine from the voter registration card?
Because I would know they have CDC.
Gentlemen, this is a serious conversation.
I want to make another point. You know, Mr. George made a very important point here that most people sometimes overlook. You know, it's the issue of the ECOWAS code. The ECOWAS code is problematic, and people don't understand. Look, when ECOWAS, many African countries don't observe any decision of ECOWAS, any ruling of the ECOWAS code. Because first of all, they tell you that the Constitution says that the supreme law of their land is their Constitution.
And I got a problem with that.
Huh?
I got a problem with that.
They must fix it. The ECOWAS countries must get back together and address that issue. And then they can talk about ruling, and then the ruling will take effect. Go and read about it. Go and check on the rulings of ECOWAS code.
Mr. CDC professor, you're not in favor of ECOWAS code because they have taken you to the clinic over and over.
No, I'm not against something. The only thing the way I disagree with is the code. What I disagree with is that the ECOWAS code just compared to international treaties. Once your country fixes the signature to that treaty, you have surrounded your sovereignty.
Agree.
Listen, once you fix your signature to that, you have to abide by all what in that document. So, yes. So the ECOWAS code.
Gentlemen, let's follow up. We get one more thing to discuss before we can put the number of our people to ask.
But the way I have it is, once you sign that document, the ECOWAS are not supposed to enforce any ruling they take against any country because you are signature to that document, but they are not doing it.
They don't have the mechanism. They are not putting. That's what I'm telling you about ECOWAS. You see what? Yes, the problem of ECOWAS, and it's a different discussion. ECOWAS decided to copy the European Union, and they did not formulate they did not build the mechanism that was responsible for the needs of West Africa.
In the structure,
the kind of democracy we have in West Africa. So as a result, ECOWAS does not have the mechanism.
Okay, all right.
To enforce its decisions. So no country observed any ruling of ECOWAS. Do you know that? Yeah.
It's a joke.
A friend of mine.
Okay,
a friend of mine is noted as one of the best lawyers to ever appear before the ECOWAS court. He has won about 90% of his cases he's taken in the ECOWAS court. A Liberian, 90% of the cases he's taken in the ECOWAS court. And he will tell you, most African governments do not observe the final ruling.
They don't.
Okay, gentlemen, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will go inside the opposition column of the letter that surfaced from the guy who Amos George identified as a troublemaker. They continue to validate this guy's argument. Let's take this quick break. We'll come back, get a glass of water. Now the Lpr is getting a little bit chill because we are about to enter his terrain. I am Alfonso Zienzo with the best of political team commentators. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners, and of course our own commentator from our sister network, Mr. Keith Hassan. Good evening and welcome. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Fiber King of Woodland. Everyone that's looking for nice African for wedding, whatever fiber you need, you can just come over here. You have all this nice stuff. If you need ashebi, you guys can come over here for baby shower, for wedding. You guys are welcome. She already nice stuff. You can see all over there, all those men over here. You don't have to go to the theater and then they're going to be telling you all kind of stories. You can just come here. They're already made. And for ladies, you can just look for whatever fiber you're looking for and match it for the men. And, your husband already have a shirt made. You can get stuff for your kids. You can get stuff for the whole family. We have African slippers and ashobi hair ties all over. We have different kinds of lists and everything. So you guys are welcome, okay? It's really nice. It's Fiber Queen. On Woodland, 6695 off of Woodland. 6625 Woodland Avenue, okay? So you guys are welcome, 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 welcome. You have nice stuff here for ladies, for men, for kids, and for everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Fabric Queen of Philadelphia. Fabric Queen of Philadelphia is 100% African-owned business. At Fabric Queen, we are specialized in high-quality wax product, Swiss lace, jewelry, and beauty products that will make you shine like the queen of fabrics. We are located at 6625 on Woodlands Avenue, 10 Philadelphia. Telephone number 215-800-0228. Tell the management of Fabrics Queens in Philadelphia is easy and salt of the Liberia Public Radio gives you this message. Tell all Akwaba. Okay, let's welcome back here in the final segment, and we hope to spend a little bit less time, so we'll open the phone lines to also hear from our viewers, listeners, and those making part of today's talking point. Here we go. Amos George from Atlanta, Georgia. Samson, are you with all? Why are you banging your head down?
Are we going to have a discussion, or we're going to be watching people move and what have you now?
You know, Mr. So just give this man 30 minutes, let him talk. So we can just listen.
So, Professor, here we are, all of us, ordinary Liberians, trying to find alternative to the CDC-led government, which is good. Opposition, collaborations. I have tried my best to the extent I've even spoken the Crown language right here. This document, I have perused this document over and over, and I yet to see the word collaborations. If you see what is happening now on the social media, and here comes Benala Yuri of the ALP, who happens to be one of the collaborators of these four political parties to unseat the tripartite establishment. I don't know whether this communication was a leak, but we need to know much deeper, and perhaps with his good conscience for the good of Liberia. Samson Toe, who is an affiliate, because he's one of the collaborators of the collaborating party, would do us an honest and humble thing here to tell us the context and some of these words being deployed in this letter. What is the purpose of it? And good thing it falls right on Samson Toe Labs, his political leader, Nyombli Kanga Lawrence. This letter is being addressed to Kanga Lawrence. And let's look at the surroundings and how this letter surfaced. And some of the words, some of the soundbite, the red meat, the kitchen sink, by one of their own who is within the collaboration. Alexander Cummings. This is not a rocket scientist. Anybody can straightly surmise that there's a high core conspiracy now. It's been plotted against Alexander Cummings within the collaboration. And we're seeing some of the town criers and the baby crier, the little chihuahua, all over the place now. So, Samson Toe, what I did was to perform a surgical and political operations on this letter here and pick up few words at my own will and pleasure. Dubious, viciously, unscrupulous. These are very high words to label your colleague, one of your own or somebody. Do you have an idea how this letter came about?
Oh, Mr. So, all I can tell you is this. Even the teeth and the tongue can fight. You put food in your mouth, you go to eat it, so then you can chew your own tongue. So the one here, that not anything for you to come and start speaking all your BB English here tonight. That not anything. The people are trying to find their position, and they will find their position. And when they find it, we'll let you know.
That's not what you were. That's not how you were talking here. Don't talk like a baby here. You're not like top law here. This is serious business we are talking here. We want to know what is going on.
I understand. I'm just telling you that this is not a big deal for you to come here and spend another 5-10 minutes of the big English language here about CPP. I mean,
that's not important. That's your own.
I understand that. I understand that. We, like I said, even in the house where people live, woman and husband, they can make flour. So they want to help out anything. They will find a way out, Mr. So don't worry about us. Don't worry about us.
They're not anything. Mr. George,
yes.
This is a classic justifications of all way people doing wrong and their inability to call out these people here. Yes, this is one of my own. Yes, I support these people here, but I think they have gone over the red line. Here is now talking like a young baby who is crying and he has not walked or he's sucking bottle. This one here, not anything. Tom and T can make a mistake. Is that how we're going to find the alternative to CDC?
No, Mr. So, I said it from day one. Lance or whatever, when I start doing this thing here.
Okay, I will be putting the number all here so that people.
Any jury is not a good political character in that organization, and I stay stand by. And today, this proving me. But yeah, the thing here. Benin Nigeria, what I can see now, I think Edison is appearing to be the front runner now, because when you see in politics, when you see all the attack coming towards you, it means that you're gaining ground in politics. Because when you are not gaining ground, your opponent will not go after you. But yes, a hardcore truth here. Benin Nigeria is there to cause confusion within the CPP. If Benin Nigeria had any information, as someone was genuine and honest to the cause of the Liberian people, the first thing Benin Nigeria should have done was to call the chairman of the CPP, call Mr. Bwaka, call Cummins, himself with other executives, and say, this is the information I got. Is that true? He did not do it. He chose to write a dubious letter. And it was Ben Nigeria who leaked this letter. That's why I said Ben Nigeria is not a man. Because if you're a man to rule Liberia, you should be able to stand up and challenge your friends on issues that you think wants to destroy the organization. But you go, you write a letter, then you pay someone to go and put it out there. This is not how people behave. Ben Nigeria have seen himself that he cannot make it in this race. He has become insignificant. So what he's trying to do now is to stir up the outdated politics in Liberia, to stir up confusion in the institution. Because they are, Uncle Sam said they are mentioning him that they don't want him to be around Liberian political power. So he see all those things. And to come to write this thing that he got credible information. Benin Nigeria is not off a ball within the CPP. He is a leader of one of the political parties. So he has the power to convene a meeting with other political leaders and say, this is what I heard about you. I want clarity. Madam Chairman or Honorable Bwaka, I want clarity on this issue. Did you say so or not? But instead of that, he write one letter, publish it, so then you see all the chihuahua then running out. Oh, yeah, the Omnicom must answer. Why these people cannot see reason?
Okay, why the cannot see reason?
It's an honest person. The first thing he should have done was to call the chairman of the CPP and say, oh, madam, this is what I heard. I want you to look into this thing and give me your feedback. Did he do that?
Okay, did he do that?
And the people that defending him, can anyone tell you that Ben Nigeria followed the channel of communication in that institution? No.
Okay.
This guy is a spoiler, and I know that like people have told him already they don't want him around political power. So what he's trying to do now is to destroy that institution that the other people are putting together.
Okay, that was famous.
And Mr. To, I am surprised at you tonight. That you don't want, you're talking about husband and wife can fight. When mobile model says something about a person, we are all jumping on mobile model. when he said the president, when the president said liquor talk, we all were jumping on Mama Molu. That what he said, it was dangerous to the institution. And today, Benny Ray is almost doing something similar, and you don't want to condemn him, or you don't want to call him out. And you think that husband what? No. That's not the kind of library we want to build.
Okay. That's not a kind. Professor, I will come to you because this why I believe it just is a complete denial here for you. But let me go to a constitution state here. We have a call on the line. Caller, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from? Caller, are you there? Oh, hold on 1 second. My fault. That's Samson told the one make me now. I didn't even connect my stuff. That's Samson told fault. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, it was my fault. It wasn't connected. Go ahead.
We'll be kept up with the constitutional state, like you said.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
It's far from reality. The first one that deals with Brian Summertown. You know, sometimes we shouldn't play scares like this. We have been talking about fighting corruption. Brian Summertown was convicted, and there's no way we should be even, put in the public clear that the local people, if they don't treat him, there will be problems in our society and all that kind of stuff. Let the law take its course. He was convicted. When you go from the genesis of the case, you will find out that Brandon J. Samukai took money, spend the people money, even the past. Even the former president actually to use some of that money or use money from wherever. So the case will be the case of the M1 president. We are intervened at the get-go of his presidency. It was because of the soldiers and the wives were demonstrating. So, President, we are intervening. He didn't go to pay part of the money for Brandon Samika. He intervened to quiet the tension down among the soldiers in the room. I was doing something amount to help these people, cope with the situation. But Brandon Samika had to go and restitute the money. But he chose to go to court and the court found him guilty. That's where we are today. So we're talking about corruption. Should we be putting the man on the pedestal because the Lpr-Tv are there threatening the peace and stability of the country to say there will be problems? No, that's what I asked the question. So is he in agreement with Prince Johnson when Prince Johnson said that he got to go behind him so when they bring one economic crimes court, there will be something that will happen in Liberia? That's the question I posed. So secondly, coming on to Mr. Ure, the whole CPP thing. You cannot sugarcoat what is unfolding in CPP. CPP is complete disaster. These guys, they come together. I said it on your show. It was deceptively put together. It was deceptively put together to bring a Benina Ure from that low place in our politics to a high place. And it has all falling apart. So there's no way for the Labour Progressive to sugarcoat what is unfolding yet. The CPP is damaged. The Liberty Party, the incomplete chaos, and then where it's going to go. We just hope to see that they stay together and see President. We are with them as well.
Okay, I think the Liberal is having another bad night here. Okay, let me see here. 267 number 5983. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from? Make it brief and possible.
Evanzo, how you doing? This is Bud Dayron. This is your Lodi calling from Cedar Rapids.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me say this. First of all, let me tell my brother, Honorable Sid Lakba, soundtrack is not for black alone, it's for everybody. Let me put it this way. 25 million in our cover as a mock-up. It happens under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. George Manon Weir. Another 16 billion, which is not accounted for today, was taken under His Excellency Dr. George Manon.
Excuse me, can you speak to the issue we are having?
All right.
Yeah, we are talking on the issue, the court verdict, what is happening.
I can't tired. The old man mentioned about other things about Benina Ure and Maluba Malu. This is what I'm making this connection. Soundtrack. Let me repeat myself. Soundtrack is not for rat alone, as the late police director Joe Kate said way back, I think 15, 20 years ago. What's happening now with Honorable Samukai, my son, from Nimakame? It will happen to any of us tomorrow, day after, and years to come. I just leave it right there. And my Bible says, soundtrack is not for rats alone. Let me come to Benin. I know why people just talking why they don't understand. I did criminal justice administration. You see, one thing, our politics in Liberia is different, Mr. So.
Yeah, that's why somebody else is on hold, so we'll go to the guys. Let's make it brief as possible.
So our politics is different. When something is happening, when somebody bring it up, then you become enemy. And let me tell you on your show today.
So wait, hold on. Come in. Hold on 1 second. When somebody brings something, they become enemy. What are you saying?
Say that again.
You say when somebody brings something out, I believe, then they become enemies. What specific are you speaking?
When something is happening in Liberian community, let me put it this way. Let me point my finger at you, Mr. So. When you're in a leadership, when something happens, you who the first to voice it out, you become enemies to the people.
No.
And let me tell. Hold on. It is our setting in the Liberian community.
How is it? So no, hold on 1 second. Here we hold people responsible of voice being used. When you say something happening and leader brings it out, how the leader brings that out? What process?
Okay.
When things happen in the community, what do you do?
Let me say it this way. When something wrong is happening in the organization or group of setting, you who see it, you who sense it, you who smell it, when you bring it out in the Liberian community, they say they men are troublemakers.
No, I disagree with
you. This with you. Let me leave
how are you? No, tell us. Don't leave it. Just don't leave it empty like that. How are you bringing? How are you breaking it out? That's what I want to know.
What are you rating?
Okay.
Do you follow channels?
Something is happening in a CPT framework.
Yeah.
Somebody did something in the framework. If you really read a document of what Benedict Ure wrote, he said our document, and then said, something happened in our document. They have been sent away. He called or he wrote the chairman, the chairperson now for CPP, and said, hey, excuse me, this is what's happening. He never kept the letter. He sent it to Joseph Boakai. He sent it to Youngblade. He sent it to Alexander Comment.
Then he published it.
He served himself a copy. What are we talking about? If he's a bad man, that he heard such a thing, you will send letter to the three political
who is accusing
heads, including himself.
Look, you see,
who is accusing? Did you see anybody leave that letter?
All of those things is happening.
That's speculation.
CPP have not come up here to say this is our head. But let me tell you, let me leave you with this. I'm not a soothsayer, but when I say something today, the 20th of August, 5 more days for my son's birthday. Today, the 20th of August. CPP convention. You say, who cares?
Then we are talking a national issue here. 5 days to your birthday, 6 days. Yeah, no, yeah, we talk. Yeah.
Tell me who cares the one Mariah said yesterday. Don't tell me who cares.
I'm asking you to the substance. Your birthday, not your birthday. I'm not interested here because what you are doing, you've been selected. Okay, you need to end your statement, so I will go to the next caller here because you are damaging our country, and this is not what we're going to accept here. You're talking about leader. If I'm a leader, when something happening within LPR, we call executive meeting. You find a common ground. You don't throw a letter up there and you sort of describe people who. How can you go on a conference table to say? That's ridiculous.
You don't call nobody name. You don't mention nobody name in the letter. No complaint.
Is your way, like way is your way, Josh way. We cannot do that. That's political leader. That's two political leader that came up to form a collaboration. And let me tell you this.
What are you going to leave us with?
There is something is happening in CTC. So web.
You tell us.
No damn thing is happening in CTC. You're cities, people. You're the ones spoiling the country here.
Okay. The convention. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me see here. There's a number here. Let me go to this number here. 267 here. Please make it brief as possible as you can. Okay, Mr. Jackson is calling here too. Mr. I'm going to be coming back to you. Please lower your monitor if you're here. Who on the monitor? Please lower your monitor. If you're listening, please lower your monitor. We're getting the feedback. Please look. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me go to 267 number that will come to our contributor, Mr. Jackson here. 267-3278. Are you there?
Yes, Mr. So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome. What's your name?
Thank you, Mr. So, my name is Hussein Brody, calling from the Philadelphia area.
Welcome. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. So, thank you for the show. You know, some of us, we young people, and we come on the show most of the time. Like for me, I always follow your show because it's educated. It educates us, we the young people. But this course that you just deal with, it's frustrating to even listen to him because you're not making sense. I'm not trying to be disrespectful because you were not even to the issue. But let me go back to the issue here, Mr. Stowe. Some kind of situation with Liberia, I think it's something to set precedent. We the young in Liberia. You cannot say you're going to be a criminal in America and you say you're going to be able to have the opportunity to step in the Senate. This man coming here talking about CTP, talking about his from birthday. It's not helping us, the young people that listen to this show. We need president to be set up in Liberia for those that will commit crime, those that will commit hostility on the Liberian people. They should be punished for the act that they commit. He's talking about trying to pay for elephant and not pay for Duffer. It doesn't make no sense. If I commit crime, let me bear the consequences. All right? So we need our president to be set up. The young people of Liberia, they need a change. Everybody yearning for change. The change will not come just one day. It will come with president being set up. And there is a president being set up in our country, Liberia, and we want for that to continue to happen. Tomorrow, if President doesn't matter, we have to do the same thing. Let me face the same consequences. Because that's what we want. The young people want to see that example. Thank you, Mr. So. Thank you so much for the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Jackson, hold on. Gentlemen, please hold on. So let's get the views from our valuable people. They are part of the show. Prince Dubba, go ahead. And then from there, I'll be coming to Dr. Kula, I believe, here. And then Mr. Jackson, please make it brief as possibly as you can. Is that Prince Dubba?
Yeah, Mr.
Prince Dubba, CEO of the Boilers Room. Come, boy, me. Let's see.
You have a CPT guy gave 5 minutes. He doesn't want to give 2-3 minutes. Mr. So it'll be unfair to us. I want the Labour Progressive to speak on this issue. I don't know why he's so quiet. He showed his complaint. Camera working. Still.
Let me bring on the screen so we see you.
The man's a counterweight.
Mr. So, excuse me. His system, Samuka, and his former boss, they put in place when they were leading that nation for 12 years. That's the same system that is playing on Samuka. So those who are crying for Samuka, they will cry a lot because they had a chance to put a good system in place. The Chief Justice now, who the Supreme Court take go to, who appointed President Kopo, that Samuka then put in there. So they didn't put no good system in place. When you are in leadership, that protect everybody. Now when you're there, because when you're there, you move from there, it will catch you. And what happened with Samuka? He ate army people money. And people say that he's supposed to get in the street and start causing trouble in Morelia. They can stop them. Samuka ate people money. Samuka, he get the money. You see that money Samuka did yesterday? You see that Samuka, people collected that money. That Samuka, the keeping the full money away he went and just took few away from there and gave it to the people. So they go there and get the money and clear a need.
Okay.
Refunding people money.
Okay.
The man is a criminal. The man was convicted. He went to court. He was given a term. He went to court. He was convicted. He's a criminal. He's a well-known criminal in the Republic of Liberia.
Thank you so much.
Samuka did not get other people that same right that he got. They went in villages there, arresting people, bringing them. They don't give them the same system, the justice system that it was fair to Samuka. So let us forget about Samuka.
Your 3 minute videos. Okay,
no, but then now let's come to the CPP here. The CPP, you know, when they formed, they said to put women in the middle, you know, that time will come in there on the side, then use to put women on. My post still there. 2 years and my post is still there. I'll bring it when the anniversary time will pop up. I'll put it in. The CPP will break up before 2022 ends. We know. Thank you, Mr. So.
All right. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me break it down here, and our analyst, Mr. Jackson, just listen. Then you'll wrap it up before I go back to the progressive. Having a very bad and terrible night here. Are you there?
Yes, Mr. So. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Good evening. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. It's sad to see that the CPP is in disarray at the moment, and while they're fighting amongst themselves, the CDC propaganda team has released a reggae song that I sent to your inbox.
Oh yeah.
Wherein they have the voice clips from Cummings' old speech when he talked about the gay issue, and they have Omer Boycott talking about getting money from the banks to live off of, and they also have clips from where Costa was saying that Omer Boycott is a dead man walking, and they put it together in a song. And that right there alone, if they loop that over and over to our people who only listen to music and radio and word of mouth, that's a great propaganda tool that can destroy the CPP if they don't get their act together. They need to get their act together, or George Weah is a second-term president.
Okay, yeah, but before you go here, I like to have conversations, you know, when people come for the good of the country. I guess you have gone through this letter from Mr. Uris, one of the main actors of the collaboration team. Have you gone through that, Dai? Have you had
the letter that Mr. Uris wrote?
Yeah.
I have not seen the letter itself, but I heard about the letter.
Okay, all right. Then I will not want you. I will try to send it.
It's kind of weird that Mr. Uris will come out with a letter similar to what Yumli is coming out with, talking about, you know, certain things were changed in the CDP, arrangement and so on and so forth. This whole thing is just weird. It's very weird.
It's synonymous to what the liberal leader was complaining with NEC and then changing this, that. Almost the same format, but this guy was the choices of what deploy here. Very much a string. I will try to send it to you, and then maybe hopefully you can really.
The liberal progressive looks very worried. I haven't seen him in this way in a long time. He doesn't look happy at all.
No,
he
went to get the same going down
the road. Don't get me in trouble with this guy.
Mr. So,
okay. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Dwara, are you there?
Before Mr. Jackson comes,
okay, so why are you making the liberal here tonight, man? Your man, come to the rescue.
We're not playing no song.
Specifically for this reason. The reason why we continue to push for institutional governance in Liberia is to make sure this kind of brouhaha don't brew in the future. Look, we talk about Mr. Samukai. There is a belief in Liberia where people believe justice is controlled by those who are in power, because our decisions are not guarded by institutions. People believe they're guarded by futile men that control the country. This has it's a huge problem. It can create a problem in the country. We have to move away from this big manism and create something that the people can believe in. The only reason why people are doubting what's happening to Mr. Samuka, blaming President Weah or anybody else for that matter, is because justice in Liberia is extremely selective, and they believe it's being controlled by the president. This is a serious problem. Until we build institutions that guard the decisions in Liberia, we will continue to see stuff like this. Look, this man was convicted, but here's the thing. What happened to the other people that were convicted and they continue to serve in government? You cannot do this. There must be consistency in the application of the law. If you don't do that, you create problems. This is what we are seeing today. Thank you so much for the time, sir.
Lastly, on the CPP scenario.
Well, for me, on the CPP, look, I'm going to say this very straight up. It doesn't matter if the CPP fragment into 25 pieces. At the end of the day, President Weah will not win in Liberia again for various reasons. Number one, even if the CPP fragments after the first round, they will come back together because everything in Liberia is the same against the president. So it doesn't matter whether they fragment or not. I don't think they want to fragment. They understand what it's a stick. They have to set aside the differences. That's why I tell Liberians, you have to support ideas, not individuals, because especially in our society, where nobody has any honesty or any form of integrity, they're going to seek their own interest in ways that we cannot describe. But at the end of the day, they're going to come back together, even if they fragment. At the end of the day, they will work.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, let me go to the last person, our analyst, Mr. Sam Jackson, and I will go right back to our guys here. They have absorbed a lot here from the liberal state. Mr. Jackson, are you there?
Yes, how are you, sir?
Good, yeah. So you heard the last caller here. They can do whatever they can do. At the end of the day, they will come together. But the key question here, do these people have the political temperament to come to a result? Go ahead.
Well, before I just come to that issue, I'm so interested in this case, especially that had to do with Bernie Sanders. And
why?
What most people they are not understanding is that they think that this case is something, just to go and accuse or maybe, to make political point. But if you were to take that, it's, the case or the ruling of the court is very huge and it's good for people to read it and discuss it. There are some serious issues, that is raised in that case that have to do with private funding or private property versus public funding. The other one has to do with the issue of whether the act that was performed by Brandon Samuka, whether he was performing in as a function of the state or he was doing it in the name of the private, and people that money he was taking. So if we were to take those two, was Brandon Samuka performing function on behalf of the EFSOA or was it performing government, and function money? That's one of the things that they talked about. The state disagreed with him. And the state said no. The money that was contributed that was taken from their state. And if it was a state, it's going to be put into a private fund. And that private fund they should have is staying into it. That money was taken out and used for just. And he went on to say that he doesn't have to give account of it because what happened was he was performing security, function. And you understand? And then the court went to say, no, you cannot take private people money to perform security function. The government has the fund set up. If you go back to the Minister of Finance, you have to prove that. He also went to say that, he got approval by the president. And he told himself, hey, if you get approval for the president should have come here to get evidence to say that he gets approval to see whether you could establish that this function. Two, you cannot take private people money to perform government function. The only time these things happen is on an eminent domain. They mention about it in the court. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. And they are saying that if that is the case, the government must come up to a point, they must go to the court for you to get a ruling. And you will say, okay, I want to run a road through this place. Mm-hmm. Now, there was nothing to prove that. He went to the extent, he took $50,000 to perform, I think, as a general, something. That's private people money. That's not government money. You understand? If you know that you want to represent the government, go to the Minister of Finance. There are a lot of serious issues that are involved into that ruling. And most of us are looking at, and we are thinking that because he's a man who from the Unity Party, so they're trying to get at him. I want us to use it as a precedent.
Okay.
And if we decide to accept it, it will bring other people forward. The only thing that I think is they are only looking up to Brandon Samuka. There are a lot of people that was involved into it.
Yeah.
That they need to bring forward.
All
and
right.
That's where I'm having problem with.
All right, and that's what I'm having problem with. Thank you. That's our contributor from the liberal state of Massachusetts. Let me go back to the analyst, and this is where my argument has been, where is Ellen Johnson's lead? So I, for one, my little guess here could be Brandon Samukai is being used as a sacrificial lamb. He's a military guy, so military is a duty before complaint. He's going through the pain, and he's been very tolerant that we can give. But a liberal is unable to adequately put that forward here, and he's acting like a little baby here this evening. Professor, you are carrying on here. Let me just give you a few lines here to lay the foundations of your argument. We want to welcome Chairman Ben Savvy, our own man James Gumia here. This is one of the portions. Madam Chairman, that's Ben and I right now within the Liberty Party or the column or the opposition. Madam Chairman, this letter essentially seeks to inform you that the All Liberian Party, ALP, has reliably learned that certain portions and clauses within the organic framework document of the collaborating political parties, CPP, have been dubiously, viciously, and purposefully altered, alleged by what? Notorious individual within the hierarchy.
Mr. So, Mr. So.
Hold on. It's the professor time to talk.
Yeah.
The professor, will you please yield?
No,
Yeah. Well, I'll yield.
You have nothing to do with his ability to yield, Mr. So. This is not. We're not running some kind of a crew coach here. If the professor yield, it's his time.
I will respectfully yield.
Thank you.
Please,
Mr. So, please, this is not. Look, let me just give you guys this here. All of the stuff that you've been reading all here tonight, the Benedict Ure did, and then the center right coming up here and talking about Benedict Ure is not a good president, he's a troublemaker. Those things don't faze me. We will come up at the end of the day and defeat the CDC. There's no question. This is what I'm going to tell you, Mr. So, and your buddies here, Kumbaya buddies. Let me just tell you guys this quickly. Look, Mr. Ure papered his letter at accusation. He's accusing. He's saying that if you go through that, he's asking for an investigation. How much more clearer do you want? He's asking for an investigation.
He doesn't have the document?
Mr. Center Right, this is the liberal on the floor, please. I've let you guys talk for almost 20 minutes. I ain't saying nothing yet. And I refuse to call him Mr. So, the smart man, just because I want to talk. No, I'm not going to do that. This is what I'm going to tell you. Mr. Ure letter, with all of the language that was used, he was still being respectful and asking the chairperson to do an investigation. In other words, he is not making conclusion. Because if he was making conclusion, he would say so. But he's not making conclusion. He's saying, let us investigate. If this is what it is, let's find a way to resolve it. What's wrong with that? And this is what you three gonna come out here and trying to pin Mr. Ure down and think I'm gonna be quiet all night. No, that ain't happening. Mr. Ure has the right to call for an investigation, and he has done so. He's not a crook. Mr. Ure is not a crook. He's a citizen of the Republic of Liberia. Mr. Ure stands for the truth, and Mr. Ure is there with the CPP, and the CPP going to do everything possible to make sure the CDC corrupt. Mr. Senator, please make sure the CDC, this corrupt CDC, this inept CDC that is unable to even build a little road from one point to another and go around doing all of these political projects, calling the project, we would dislodge them and we would defeat them.
All right, Mr. So, let me come in. Thank you very much. I think I had to make that contribution to my brother. I had to get him off from his slumber. He was sleeping because he was bombarded from every corner.
Monitor, I'm getting the feedback. I think somebody listening. Okay, much better.
Yeah, so one of the things, yeah. So like, let me go back to the CEO CPP thing. Look, from the perspective of a person who's a member of the CDC, I would say this. Look, when I studied scientific communism, one of the things we learned is that this agreement is helpful to the building of consensus or building of the institution. So as long as the disagreements are procedural and not on the fundamental issues, it is okay. It strengthens, it makes the organization better, It allows for opportunity. It allows opportunity for people to, to share their perspective and then form a common ground. So I think for the CDC, for the CPP, I think what is transpiring is very good for them. At least they are testing their own commitment to keeping that union. So it's good. From the perspective of the CDC, I don't think the CDC benefits from the confusion in the what is construed as a confusion within the CPP, because I think I don't think we see it as a confusion. I think we empathize with the leadership of the CPP, and we are wishing them the best as they sit among themselves and iron out their differences so that we can have a very strong competitor in the elections. Because at the end of the day, that Liberian people will be voting on who has moved our country from one point to the other point, and the Liberian people will make that decision at that point. But look, having said that, there are issues that Bernard Ayure raised in his letter. We have to differentiate the character of Bernard Ayure from the concerns he raised. Okay? He might be a man of questionable character. Maybe that's the case. That's the perception people have of him. But that does not negate the fact that as a member
what is the perception you have about him?
I prefer to keep it private.
We don't have secret here, Professor.
Mr. So, he don't want to call names. He prepared like that. Let's leave it as that. Go ahead, Professor. I'm enjoying you. Professor, go ahead. I'm enjoying you.
Oh, you're enjoying the Professor.
But you don't want to call Bernard Ayure. You don't want to describe Bernard Ayure tonight. But you can describe other people that you disagree with.
Who did I describe yet?
Huh?
Who did I describe yet? Who did I describe?
I won't call name. You said you don't want to call name. So
Mr. Center Right, let the professor finish his statement. Professor Lynn, please.
But let's again, like I said, okay, let me finish. Like I said, you cannot, the fact that people, have characterized him that's been a questionable figure does not take away from him his right to raise concerns and to have those issues discussed. By the way, Yombli Kanga Lawrence and Chairman Musa Ability have been having some other disagreements on the interpretation, I think, to some extent, of these same documents, correct? So
Liberty Party document, that is.
Liberty Party document. So there's a whole lot of issue about surrounding documents and the alteration of these documents. So I think this is something that we should allow to play out. I think at the end of the day, these political institutions will be stronger and better. And our democracy, again, most of the time when we see these things happening, for me personally, irrespective of whether I'm a CDC or I support the CDC, I think it makes our democracy stronger. These are learning opportunities for our children, so that we can disagree. I think this is the right way to disagree, as compared to when somebody is making a threat and saying that we're engaging on specified actions. People are saying, look, there's a concern. Let's sit down and discuss it. Let's see which way it goes. So I think this is good for those parties. And I think, like Dwalu, sometimes, I will talk to him personally, because sometimes I know Dwalu makes some strong points, but when he comes up with those absolute and those universal classification of Liberians in a negative light, and these are the same people who are going to be voting, but he made a very good point. At the end of the day, the vote would be, when the Liberian people are voting at the end of the day, it will not be voting on whether there were differences within the CPP. No, they'll be voting on whether we should give this government another 6 years, or we should be kicking this government out. And I'm sure that Liberian people will vote to keep this government for another 6 years.
No, they're going to kick them out.
It's possible for another 12 years. So that's what I think is going to happen. But really, I think this is good. I think this is very good for our democracy.
Yes, I agree.
I wish school was in section, and I would have my students at both of my schools, to get an opportunity to visit these political parties offices and engage them. That is a very good learning opportunity.
I agree.
We never had this experience when we were very young. We live in a one-party system.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a good experience. But yet again, my take. If Bernard Ayure, member of the CPP, did he consult his other parties, leaders? Did he follow that channel? And it was not redressed before publishing the letter? No.
Yes, another question.
Hold on.
You said no, but let me correct you. You said no. How do you know he did not?
Hold on. Let me end my statement. I meant to say that. Did he consult? If he did, what was the outcome? Did he sort all the administrative means to bring this to the attention of the executive, and did not get redressed, and maybe decide to take it to the chairman and put it out in the public. That's one of my concerns. Now, he said in the letter he alleges certain people told him credible information that certain things have been uttered within the CDP framework. Now, Mr. Ure, it's not a wheelbarrow ball. Did he attach copy of the alteration to this document to the committee, or why he didn't publish it? To tell the board, hold on now, to tell us these are alterations that I saw, because he is a signatory to that document, the original document. So if there's any alteration, why Mr. Ure could not pull this document to see, but he quoting a letter, credible information. And these are some of the issues that I have with people making kind of statement. Because if that's a wheelbarrow ball, you don't have access to the document.
So,
but to come out and say that, and look at the language he's using to describe his fellow men. It's not peaceful language.
No, but he didn't use did he use the language on his fellow men, or did he use the language on actions? He said woefully.
The action. He said the action.
So he's not finished. He's not.
Mr. Joyce, the language that was used, Mr. Joyce, the language that was used.
Hold on. You said that first one and what?
No, Mr. Judge, you can't hold me that now. That's in the past. No. This is in the past. You can't bring that back up here tonight. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're done with that. We're moving on. Mr. Central, right, if you don't mind.
Can we do it one at a time?
Yeah, please. Let me say this. If you don't mind, Mr. George. Let me say this. What have happened? What I said, Ton and T, those are political seizing, and we know exactly what we're talking. But look, let me tell you this. The language that was used to describe the action, if at all, those are all accusations.
Yeah.
The Benina Ure is saying, don't just look at the few languages. Don't just look at the terms that was used. Look at the conclusion. What was he trying to achieve? What was the? I'm not asking you a question. I'm making my point. Oh, good. Your car too gonna shut your camera up. I tell you that right now. I come and sit on the car and you're not talking for a while. But anyhow, let me just say this, Mr. Sender, right? No, on a very serious note, the idea and the letter from Benina Ure, the conclusion, if you read it keenly, what he's asking is that CPP should investigate, because he said, if you don't investigate and bring out this thing to light, it's where we can come together and resolve this issue. It might affect us tomorrow. That's his basic point. Why you want to make a big deal out of the fact that you don't trust me? It doesn't matter. Okay. You're not a member of our party anyway. So what your trust with it got nothing to do with us.
No. You see,
when it's CDC, you claim on CDC. That's how I see it. When it's CDC, that when you claim on CDC.
But that's fine.
Now when you're in your party, you say, we're gonna leave it. What I'm saying here.
No, I'm not saying leave it. The more you discuss it, you make us stronger, by the way. If these things are discussed purposely, we make us stronger.
Liberal, can you give him a chance to make his point?
Yeah, please make a point.
What I'm saying.
Let me put a cartel away now. Now you can talk.
Great. Call Yomini Kanga. Did he call Bwaka? Did he call Cummins and say, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the information that I have. I want us to sit down and discuss it in her first.
Mr.
Did he do that?
But Mr. George, Professor, hold on 1 minute, please. Mr. George, listen to me. I know who you are. We've been doing, you and I and everyone of us, we've been doing these things for months. So by now we know each other. I know who you are. If Mr. Ure have done what you're suggesting, and this thing come out tomorrow to be an issue that affect Liberian people, what would you have said? Would you say, why didn't he make it public?
No. Hold on.
Hold on. Let me finish. So we don't know. We don't even know whether he made it public or not. But the fact that it's public, and if you read the stuff, he's saying that we are together right now. And this thing has a propensity to derail whatever it is that we're planning to do to defeat this CDC government. And we must talk about it now before we get to the election, because that time we don't have time to wait. This is the thing. So let's give it to him as that. But both of you, the center right and the far right, with your Donald Trump behavior, you guys refuse to take it. You refuse to take it. But that's fine. I'm here to deal with you. I am the counterweight. I will deal with both of you from that perspective. The professor is doing good tonight. He's actually speaking his mind freely without any kinds of hindrance or whatsoever. So, Professor, you're doing good tonight. But these two people, I'm going to deal with them.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Josh.
Mr. George, I have one point. I beg. Let me make my point against one of the things you were saying. I want to comment on it. Here you are. You are saying that Ben and Ure should have consulted everyone.
No, I'm saying the team. I'm wondering.
Yeah, you're wondering. But then equally so, you said that in case this was published, he should have specifically stated what portions of the document he believed were altered.
Yeah, because he has the document in possession.
Isn't he trying, by him concealing that point, by him not making that point public, isn't he trying to protect the CPP? Is he not trying to protect the integrity of the document? That let's get together and discuss it in-house. I'm not going to say which specific points. It could be that the specific points he's talking about is that maybe the document, I'm just saying hypothetically, the document that Cummings submitted to the Investigation Commission indicated that Cummings is supposed to be the standard bearer. Maybe that's the point was changed. And now, if you were to point that out right now, do you understand how it would translate?
Oh no, it would be good. Then it will prove that Mr. Cummings is one of the dubious person. It would be good.
I think what Ure is doing in this case is a good thing.
Ure is just speculating.
There's another problem. Here's the bigger issue here. What you see happening, I know Ure wrote this letter. It is extremely possible. I'll be very honest with you. Extremely possible Ure himself leaked the letter.
He leaked it. That's what I told you. I said it.
I said it is extremely possible. That's a
problem.
But
I said he leaked it.
I spent so many years when I was in ULA telling people, when you send a letter to a president, you send a letter to a minister, you don't publish the letter until the president acknowledges receipt and probably respond to you. In the event that the does not respond to you after a certain period of time, you send a reminder. Then you can release the content to the public. But when you send
you are so amazed.
When you send me a letter, and at the same time you release that message to the public, I'm not reading that. I'm not responding to it. And that's the thing. That's unfortunate. We have to change the way of doing things in Liberia. We have to be more professional. And that's sad that our politics, continue to take this kind of thing. But again, that's a learning opportunity for our children. They need to see this so that we cannot repeat this in the future, because these are the kind of changes we need to make. Mind you, everything you see happening in Liberia involving these political parties, this collaboration, these very things occur in civilized countries like the United States, Great Britain,
of course,
long time in the process of the development of their democracy. So these are all learning experiences for our people. I think at the end of the day, our democracy is...
Paul George, make your point, and let me come to this sort of so-called playboy here by this liberal who seems to form a sort of short-term collaboration with a professor here. And I'm going, the kind of reconstruction that they are trying to give it, I'm going to define that. Go ahead and make your point.
And so what I'm saying here, Mr. Ure has his right. But remember, when you are in an institution and you say institution billing, it means you are consulting other people before you come out to say something. Because what you say, it will have a good negative impact on everybody within that institution. This letter that he published, I would say he published it. I would say he leaked it. As Professor said, that's why I continue to say it. Did he consult these people or acknowledge Yomi Kanga? Did she get the letter and she didn't act upon it? Call her again or send a reminder and no response. Then go to Boakai and say, hey, I wrote the chairman. She had not responded. This is the second time. If I don't get a response, then I will go this route. I don't know what all those mean was sought. I do not know. But these are the things we talk about. When you are building an institution, it's not a football team. People's lives are tied to the institution. So what you do today, it has the potential to either grow or destroy or derail the institution. And if they are doing it at this time, you have access to the documents. So when you come and start alleging speculating. For me, it made me to wonder. Because men are you
I don't see it that way.
all these things in his possession. So if there's something that's on author, he will be able to, okay, yeah, I see it. But to say that he getting information, then it made me to think twice.
Okay. What a great conversation here this evening. The liberal from a different professional background, the communist professor from a different socialist background. I am from
the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, from the Eastern Bloc, different background.
Very proud of my socialist.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised here tonight, but not that surprised because this is the sort of political correctness tones you guys play in. In your case, for which you try to reconstruct, and that's not going to work here with us, or it's not even going to work here with me. And the reason the professor is not going to your throat this evening, because similar thing occurred. And what happens, we saw the chairman of the CDC, when it got to the boiling point, he talks all what he wanted to talk about our president. At the end of the day, he used a word, it was a liquor talk.
It was a liquor talk.
I'm a communication person. When I'm reading your letter, I'm going a little bit much deeper. I'm wondering here whether these people do have a political temperament to come to a resolve. The ending, the conclusion of this, after using those sort of descriptive word of a potential actions or allegations or something, we've been so ambiguous without coming out, he gives an ultimatum in 1 week to come to a resolution. So, and like I've been going through this here framework, paper, what have you, the apprehension continues to come out, continue to pop out in my head. What was the technical details these parties really discussed? Is there any technical thing for such a thing when it comes how it should be processed, how it should be addressed? I don't think so, because this letter, I can quickly say this letter it speaks for itself. If Benani Yuri or the LP executive have tried all other means and all else failed, he will mention it. You don't write people with a second guess, the thing that in your mind you expect me to know it. And the liberal, let me just tell you, we are concerned because these people are seeking national office. Benani Yuri, Nyobli Kanga, your man Joseph Boyka, they all could come, any of them could become president tomorrow. I don't even know whether Benani Yuri is lobbying to be vice president. If Joseph Boyka only he wins it, we don't even know that. But all of these things come with political temperament. You don't just throw something like this and then you give an ultimatum for resolution, and then you say you finish, you're going to sit down. And that's why you want to reconstruct here, like it's already a crime scene. We're only trying to find the forensic aspect now, what happens. So if you throw something like that, you need to come out to tell us exactly what was uttered and what was said that is to the displeasure of the ALP.
You do at an appropriate time. You do at appropriate. Look, I don't know whether you. I think you said Chairman Ben Sambi was on, and I was on the show. I think several weeks ago or so. They have Musa Ability there, the chairman of the Liberty Party.
No, but I listened to, not to interrupt you, I listened to Chairman Samvi's argument on Spoon, yesterday, day before yesterday, with respect to this. He said he didn't see it to be anything. And of course, it's something. So we're seeing what is breeding on the social media.
It's going to make them stronger. It's going to make them better. Let's be frank.
It's not a matter of making them stronger. I'm just on it. Okay, that's your. I can't bank you out of your own thinking of these people. But I'm just saying these people. As far as
what I've noticed tonight, Mr. Center Right and Mr. Far Right, that would be Mr. So and Mr. George. It seemed to me that you two are more sedition here tonight, and then the CDC professor, because the CDC professor is taking the role of the liberal here tonight, because he's being factual. He's being factual. It's not because he liked my view and what have you, but he's being factual. This is what you guys need to understand. What this letter, and I will say again, what this letter has done, not been reading it, I was reading it here. What this letter has, even if Benani Yuri said, I want answer in 1 week or so, Benani Yuri is quite aware that this is not a political party that he can, or collaboration political party that he can put around. That's just his own suggestion. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Now, what I say, and I'll continue to say, what Professor is saying, is this. This letter, even with all of the brouhaha that you guys are making it to be out of, it will bring us together and we will find solution, and then we will come back stronger, because whatever it is that Medina Euro is referring to here, even if it didn't happen, but the mere fact that he has brought it out, people are now going to be careful and be mindful of whatever it is that they're doing, so that this collaboration political party, Mr. Right, I'm speaking, I'm still on the floor. So the point here is this: we, the opposition, and you and I, the two of you are not able to pin me down. I got a little bit distracted from the beginning because I felt bad that my political party, my strong Dr. Bakai and his people were being discussed in such a way, and I felt it. But then somebody said, Mr. Toe, pick up your cowtail, and I picked that cowtail up, and the strength that has given me is now to tell you two that this opposition is genuine and it's real. You two undercover sedition, you better be ready, because we're coming and we will dislodge all of you guys.
But let me come in, Mr. Toe. Let me come in, Mr. So. Let me say this. Look, like I said, at the end of the day, the CDC cannot depend on a conflict in the CPP to win elections. We have to ride our own backs to victory. And so, if we don't make it right with it,
but you don't even have back to ride. Well, how are you going to ride it?
Maybe that's the case. But if we're going to make it right by Liberian people, we have the opportunity to make it right by Liberian people and have them re-elected. But here's another thing. I was trying to make a point here when I watched Spoon TV about several weeks ago, and it was amazing. Musa Ability came and he was trying to interpret this whole framework document. It was bizarre because I don't think he read the document. He struggled mightily in explaining some provision. There was one provision specifically he tried to explain that
you're coming for a power with a liberal right now.
There was one provision he explained that everybody was. There was no way to get outside of the coalition, and that's not necessarily true. He couldn't explain it. That's not necessarily true. So but here's the thing: these things are happening at a very good time for the CPP. You got a long time to fix these things. As a sedition, wanting to, another 6 years mandate for Liberian people, I don't think we need to be glamorizing or, taking any kind of, victory lap on this thing. I think what we need to do is, like I said, I indicated to you, is to.
But Professor, I don't mean to interrupt. If you have nothing to show for the last 3 to 4 years, how come that's why you guys want to ride on this stuff, because you got nothing positive to show. You have done nothing, completely, absolutely nothing. And you can show that we should not take state power. And so whatever confusion that we have among us, you want to use that as a political tool to see if Liberian people can listen to you. They're hungry. Honor your leadership. Liberian people are hungry. No jobs. Honor your leadership. And we will point those out.
Progressive, you are an engineer. You know the calculus of life. The fundamental thought about life is that the only thing in life that is constant is change itself. So every institution, every organization, every individual has an opportunity to do better. Obviously, it has been very challenging 3 years for the CDC government, but there's still 3 years to go. And there's still much more that can be accomplished with the right policies in place, the right individual in place.
When would this challenge start?
The challenge will always be there, but the opportunity to correct, the opportunity to make better on what you did before will always exist. That's the basic calculus of life. And unless we abuse the opportunity, you can't say that we are doomed. Okay.
No, let me say this here. But the last appearance of Kochi here, and so I should be very careful here when I make these brief pronouncements. Kochi was very, very much truthful with us that things are very challenging with this government, and so if an insider will come on public and make these kinds of pronouncements, then perhaps, and I've said perhaps because I don't believe that CDC do not have it within them, but perhaps they are getting ready to pivot, and perhaps they are evolving. Yeah. So because of that, people like Jefferson Kochi and even Dr. We are recognized that these things are not just something you can run with. They're going to have to find other. We're looking to see what are the pivoting position. Are they bringing in new people? Are they bringing in people to straighten them up? They're not doing that. And I'm giving them one month.
You say
1
that
month I'll be on there.
I think it's wrong to say they're not doing that. I think it's right when you say they haven't done that yet. But to say that they're not doing that, I don't think that's right. They haven't done it yet.
I haven't seen it, Professor. I haven't seen it yet.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
Okay. Let Amos George go with a point. And
Professor, let me say this. There is enough time, according to you, your party can pivot. But I'm hoping to see that. But this time, Liberia today getting JFK, 100,000 for JFK.
Yeah.
That is a serious problem. And jobs, let me say this, the person can build road is good. The person can build school is good. The person can pay tuition is good. The person can build all the world is good. But how does that translate into job of the Liberian people? If the people cannot get job, how do we send the children to school?
Yeah.
That is the issue. And I'm telling you, Mr. Samson told you come and pay me. Let me strategize with people. These are the issues you be propounding. Instead of talking about authoring document. These are the issues you should take to the people of Liberia. But you people don't have a message. Samson told, it's all yelling. When Nigeria sitting down using alteration, is that what the Liberian people are going to eat? Is that the leadership tomorrow you exhibit?
Yeah, but still he has to.
There are issues here. I'm saying these are the issues for Liberians.
Yeah.
All what I listed, the person is doing perfect. I will give it to him. But my question is, how does that translate into the job? And when there's no job, how can someone send a child to school? How can they send a child to the hospital? These are the issues I want the opposition to take on President Weah. Not making all the noise like Chihuahua, then all they talk about personality issue. These are the critical issues that we should be discussing.
Okay, let me just get the last call here, and you guys going to be making a last and final message here for us to go. Oh boy, yeah, Joy, go ahead.
I was just concluding. I said these are the issues. So Professor say, yeah, there's still room for improvement, but I can't see it.
It's possible. I understand that you can't see.
I agree with there's room for improvement.
Yeah,
but it's from the sound I'm saying.
Okay, let me just go to the caller quick. So we'll wrap up. Hello, caller, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing? This is Emmanuel from Virginia.
Okay, so welcome. You are our last man for the event. Go ahead, make your point quickly.
So I just have one quick point to make, especially to one of your discussion, the one with the Liberian flag behind Mr. Tool. I just have one simple question for him. I keep hearing saying that President Weah administration that people are suffering, that people are going very hungry. I just want Mr. President to tell me, as an older person, since the administration of William R. October, when was the last time that Britain was not suffering? When's the last time that Britain was in jail? For the past 40 years. Now, is it on this administration that we just started with complaining about Hong Kong? We killed William R. October because of the same Hong Kong. We killed Doe because of Hong Kong. We ran Chancellor because of the same thing.
Nobody killed Doe for Hong Kong. You know, Mr. Doe were not killed because of Hong Kong.
We are just blind to our own problem. Ghanaians went through Hong Kong to take the country to the level where it is today. We have to go through the same Hong Kong. If we just all about Belfort, the country would just be the same. We almost 200 years ago, and we're still talking about Hong Kong. When we care about this Hong Kong? So the president, we have stopped building the hospital, then he stopped building the road, then he just banned food. That's how some citizens keep telling, like bring food, bring rice. Because at least the people that someone like Mr. Cole, we expect him to tell us, the young people, no, food is not all the development. Development comes with pain. We have to go to bed sometimes hungry. We have to wake up sometimes hungry. But when you keep telling us as an older person that we're going to be hungry, it means that there is no hope for us. Because if the same hunger we kill with our trouble for, you said that there will be beggar be sold for 50 cents when we kill trouble. How much is beggar today?
That's
just you said we kill Doe, everything will be fine. We kill Doe. What happened today? You said a Chancellor go elsewhere, things will be fine. Chancellor gone. So the problem with Liberia is it's not food. Let us identify our problem. Our problem is we need a leader who can implement we need to implementer. And I think Joshua is that perfect implementer. It's going to take some time. Nothing happens overnight. Even when God created the earth, did not create the earth overnight. It took him 7 days. So we expect older people to tell us, look, young people, be patient. Things going to be better, but we have to. It's going to be a tough time. But
do you know how long it's going to take?
Nation building is not 10 years business.
Okay.
You know.
I know. Especially after war, right?
Mr. So.
For example, we missed a great opportunity. After our post-war election in 2005, when the international community had a GA conference and gave us billions of dollars, Marlon said for paying government officials $25,000 a month. Why fucking government will pay a minister $4,000 today and see what winner? You understand?
So quickly, before I let you go, do you think Helen Johnson did anything wrong?
Well, man, she did not just do anything. She abused the Liberian people.
Is she answerable to that, you think?
She is. I mean, it's a small but the president said that it's one opportunity. Since the 8th concession agreement, all because, and you want to bring Joshua for it?
So then why Judge Weah is the president, like quoting the voice of the vice president? Do you think the president knew that? And if so, why the president? Because this was one of the questions that I asked Moloba Modu under the sycamore tree, and he did not answer that question. Instead, he deflected and threw it back in the face of the opposition. If Helen Johnson Sirleaf did anything wrong, impropriety, that's warrant maybe going before the court of law, why the president now, the Attorney General, is on his wife? Why can't they seek inquiry to that?
If we backfire in the terms of even, I think we've seen that the government is taking steps gradually. Look, we have a massive system. You have to be careful how you handle the agreement. You see the agreement, can tell you say that rule. Once you government will see the agreement, will tell you say, oh, you waste money.
Okay.
We are so used to that jungle justice that once you say somebody that rule, it means that she goes through the jail. Under this present administration, you are innocent until proven guilty. And we saw it with Charles Lee. We saw it with the central governor. You are innocent until proven guilty. Until the rule of law can prevail. We're not used to the rule of law in the government. That we have with do you are wrong. Okay, you're going to jail. There is no explanation. Until we can erase the mentality that when once is accused of corruption, they are innocent until proven guilty. We don't move forward.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mr. So. Thank you.
Yeah, our views and opinions are always welcome here, but they are not in any form or should represent the management and staff of the Liberia Public Radio. Well, guys, the old man.
Before, let me just answer this guy here because a couple of times he called my name here. But let's just say this here. One of the reasons, Mr. So, not a very serious one. One of the reasons
why people can't.
That's okay. One of the reasons that I say about things, what is happening with this government. Most of the issue here is not just the government, but if you have somebody run campaigns and you have somebody telling the people and the international community that I will do X, Y, and Z, and the person has failed miserably to do that, we have to bring it out. For example, the president during the inaugural program made it clear to the whole world that Liberia will not be spectator in their own country. And Liberians are foreigners right now in Liberia. So, sir, if you don't mind, I'm not saying that this president is incapable of doing X, Y, and Z. I'm bringing up food and everything else because people are hungry. I'm sorry if you guys, sedition, are feeling hurt about my statement. I have no other thing to say. I can't apologize because this president told us that he was going to create 1 million jobs. And there's nothing happening. The president told us that all Liberians were going to be concession and contractors and everything. Liberian will be at the forefront. Right now, it's the foreigners that are in the forefront. So, sir, please, I am sorry if you feel that way, but this is my opinion, and this is the facts that I'm giving you, sir.
Okay, that's the best of political commentators, pundits, and contributors of the Liberia Public Radio, the liberal progressive base in Saxton, Amos George, and Professor RCC Lagos Zawlo. But before we go, 1 minute, USA time. That I'm total 1 minute. I mean, 1 minute. What was the most ridiculous thing tonight, and what is your most takeaway from tonight's conversation? Just sum it up in 1 minute.
As usual, Mr. So, this platform does not produce anything that is ridiculous. We always come out here, we express ourselves, and these expression and views are not ridiculous, so I'm not going to clarify any of those as being ridiculous. What I do take away out of this tonight, I think from the beginning, we all were on the same page that this thing need to be settled, especially Samson and the election issue need to be settled by the Liberian government, by the people, the big men in the room need to come in and settle this thing before it goes out of hand. And secondly, on the issue of Bernard Ure and that letter, I am not on board with everything that is stated in that letter. However, the intent is what I'm satisfied with. The intent is to ice the party chair to launch an investigation. And if the party chair and the rest of the party feel that it warrant an investigation, they will do that. But I appreciate Mr. Bernard Ure, Honorable Bernard Ure, coming out and bringing it to light. This is what we want. We're asking for transparency, and Bernard Ure is giving us transparency, and I appreciate that. As far as you two are concerned, I want to thank you, the center right, Mr. So and Professor CDC Professor. I want to thank you guys again tonight for the opportunity to be able to stand among you great people and still be able to express myself freely. I appreciate it.
Why you always like to take yourself like a prodigal son? Like you are deserted, nobody, you alone.
Mr. So, everyone that comes and watch this show, they know I am the counterweight, because your view is not that far removed from that of Mr. George. And from tonight, both you and Mr. George sound more like a sedition than the Professor CDC Professor. So I'm on my own at all times. But CDC Professor was able to back me up a little bit tonight, and I want to give him that proud as well. So it's not like I'm standing here. I've always announced it.
So you are also
counterweight to both of you.
So you are aligning with sedition, which is good, because you were called on a cover here the other day, and you did not. You were speechless. Mr. George, what's your most takeaway this evening?
Let me just say something before my most takeaway. The last caller that left, he distorted some information here. Though we're not care for rights business. Tell people when you're coming up to say things, have the facts. Though we're not care for rights business. 1979 was Red Rod that led the talk of death. Charles Sitter will not run out of Liberia for rights business. So get this, people should have the facts correct. And nobody's saying and nobody's saying that fee all the Liberian people fool. All these things can be done competently. That's government. Government cannot do one thing and say we're leaving the other one. No. So I know that they are down sedition, they love the president, fine. But there is something. When you campaign, you make these statements, people will have to hold you to it. And this idea that now they're yearning for justice. When people, can he show me how many government officials that George were in the alleged government that have been allegedly accused and has been prosecuted fully? The National Housing St. George working to buy that case came out. What is it today? Lpr-Tv, the Deputy Minister of Fire, NC, all these people.
Yeah, Dr. Musuka Fala, there was an investigation. I don't know what's the conclusion.
He's out of the country, but these people don't sit down and try to look at what is going on in the country. But they want to take one issue that the government or muddy up, then that's the one they want to take and put on a pedestal that, oh, the person is fighting corruption. I'm sorry. And my most ridiculous takeaway tonight is Mr. Bernard Ure. I will say this. Bernard Ure is the most ridiculous takeaway for me tonight. This guy, I will continue to say it. He wanted to just try to seek attention. There's an orphan child now. So he tried to seek attention, he wanted to insert himself into the political discourse again to make himself relevant. This is what Bernard Ure is doing, and that's my most ridiculous.
All right. Thank you. What us to give for the liberal about night. Okay, Professor, thank you for coming back here. What was your most takeaway in your closing argument here tonight?
Oh, that the liberal has now become my good friend.
But he accused him. He said, "Now where is the additional?"
No. I think look. You know, the biggest takeaway here is that this opportunity here to just like what we mimic on our show is what we want to see happen in our society. That it is all of these disagreements that consensus are born, and once we have this consensus, we can engage in the act of nation building. So there's a whole thing about the rigmarole, what is construed as a rigmarole within the CPP. I think is very important to our democracy. It makes it stronger. It makes it better, and I think it should challenge us, the CDC, to do more, to take the necessary corrective actions, so that when the 2023 comes, we can be very competitive. We can be able to win if possible. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I have from this show. I think it was wonderful that we could all agree on some things, we disagree on some things, and that the Liberian people are talking. Look, it's so powerful that Bernard Uribe will write a letter instead of issuing a statement saying that he's withdrawing from the coalition. That would have been extreme, and that would have caused a lot more turmoil than what he has done. So I think that's wonderful. It shows that we've made some progress. We are learning.
Professor, you can tell the institution when you have weight, but Bernard got no weight, so you can't tell the institution again.
Okay, well, gentlemen, that's how we're going to wrap it up here this evening. As usual, the best of political commentators, analysts, and contributors, the most liberal on this network from Saxton, Sacramento, and host Conversation with Samson Too. And of course, our own Professor Asise Labozalo, senior contributor and a strong supporter, a high court supporters of the ruling establishment, and Amos Joy from Atlanta, Georgia. Guys, I want to thank you so much for your time, for your expertise, for having this sort of a civil conversation. We disagree, we argue on things, but the key thing here is done in civil context. And of course, to our most valuable listeners, viewers, far and near, the civility, the interaction, the engagement, the exchange, try to put their points true on our field, on the thread line, is quite amazing. And they too also get the kudos because they maintain civility. Folks, the old man on the wartime has caught up with us here this evening. By God's willing, same time, same station. So we're going to be right back here with more discussion. If you're your first time coming on LPR, we'll say thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your event with us. Keep throwing your comments. We usually go back and look at it, and we can also tweet. Search for us on the Facebook, www.liberiapublicradio.com. You can even visit the official website for other news in and outside of Liberia. You can follow us on our Twitter and YouTube handles as well. Until then, guys, I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. By God's willing, we're going to be right back here again to do it. We are doing this all in the good interest of Mamant, Liberia. We want our leaders to have political tolerance. Their decision making must be very calculated, not emotionally driven. Like Samson told the liberal, throwing things out here. Oh my goodness. Guys, have a pleasant evening. And for all of you guys here, this is our take-home song here, theme song here, always, by Minister Jemima Walker, Let It Go.
Samson Too, let it go.
That one, they can't let it go when the husband fall in love with another woman. That's hell breaking loose.
If someone overlook you because you live in zero, if they insult you because you don't have nobody.
Well, this is what we do right here on the Liberia Public Radio, Lpr-Tv. We discuss issues. We take on high corporate burden issue that other people do not want to talk about. But what that does, we take it in a civil context with the hope for finding solutions and reminding our politicians that people's lives are in their hands.
If they say your need is borrow, some they go to meet me. Mommy can say no, Johnny Ginger. Just let it go. Jesus.
Yes, we will let it go, but we have to question them. They have to provide explanation. They are accountable to us. We elected them with the hope to protect the three branches of government, to allow them to function simultaneously without either one interfering into the work of the other. Josh, thank you for coming. Priscilla, Kamara, and of course our own political commentators and veteran journalists, formerly with the State Broadcasting Corporation, James Gomia. And I can't forget our prompt and valuable listeners at Michelle Bala, with Dr. Mayango, welcome, and Edwin Kolungi.
But I'm still a good boy. Jehovah bigger than your problems, so just let it.
And a good friend to the liberal progressive Mikey.
To be the best and more aggressive, gotta pray.
Right, Fremont, thank you for coming.
I said, Jacob, they're gonna let it go. But there is power in your blood. I wanna give you praise.
And of course, from the presidential headquarters of Wilmington, Delaware, Borough Delta, Eleanor Debacle, thank you.
Thank you for your God blessing and forgiveness. You solved my problem, Lord. You took me from the wilderness.
Roland is in the house and Emmanuel Jala.
So my papa bless me, then my enemy they get it best. No matter what the problem is, my God, let it go. Your delay is not your denial.
Mr. Hammond, good evening.
Keep on trusting in Jehovah, he will give you more. He took me from the grass. He can take you from.
Eric is in the house. Kamara Abdullahi and Greta Breeze. Jerome Swanza.
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Oh, let it go. Let it go. Lord, help me let it go.
Mr. Matthew Bassi, you ready to let it go this evening and talk out Quay?
For all kinds of sickness, Lord.
Emani Seke Fanso Tadawon.
That sickness that devouring you, I say, let it go. The barrenness of your low and go. Living the life of joylessness.
Basoli Salama.
I say, you spirit of suppression. Let it go. Spirit of denial, spirit of depression. Let it
Christopher Roberts, thank you for coming.
go. I'm tired. I can low and go. If you begin, take your chemo.
Oh, when they take your chamo, let it go. I can't let that one go. Hell gonna break loose. Good evening, Dualo. Thank you for coming, for always making a valuable contribution.
I tell go. Let go. Your husband say you're not my type. Just let it go. If someone feel for you before, yeah, you get your mother and it.
Baby Samora.
You get your wife and make your children homeless.
I would say thank you to our contributor from the Bay State of Massachusetts, Mr. Samuel Jackson.
Let it go. Mama, let it go.
Well, Lana Dennis, we can't leave you out, man. Your time is so precious.
Let it go. You borrow someone your money.
Priscilla Takumi Myers.
Someone to pay.
And Letty Brooks Roberts right here in the house. Thank you for coming. Always out there to make sure the news is proportional and making her voice heard. Thank you so much.
Don't even want to see you. I your Johnson. They call you for nothing. I say in your family.
And Vava Swawi. Well, folks, it's 10:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's how we're going to bring the curtain down here tonight. By God's willing, we're going to be back here. Let us keep the conversations in a good context. Yes, we can have our political choices here. That is also good. But we must do it with honesty, with the hope that these politicians, they must be held accountable. You can't, because I don't see the political ideology these people have. And that's why they're jumping from party to party, from party to party. They do not put the institution together for the good of our country. So when we're talking about them, it's more serious. because our lives is contingent upon them. The decision that I make is what determines our direction, the fate of the country, and where we are going as a people. So it's no play. It's no, that's not Tabata talk. According to my folks from Focus Africa, there's no Tabata talk. We need to ask these people, because guess what? When we elect you, you go in there for 9 years. You ever heard any of these people to resign? Sometimes here, when something done, you saw Como here, Andrew Como. What happens when you pop out here? Tension mounted. People within his party, they call on him, even though he said he was going to put a defensive wall, a wall of Jericho, that he did not do anything. But the president himself came out. People within his government came out. His aide came out to resign. Have you ever seen that happening in Liberia before? Or it's about political correctness and to protect their wealth and their party, then the country to the Republic of Liberia. And so when it comes to talking about Liberia, when it comes to this politician, there's no compassion, there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, there's no any sorrow. We talk it out. And so people that are defending these people, when they come, they are not exempt from this, because they brought these people to us in the past. They introduced them to us. They make them so like Labra say, "Mami water, spotless woman." Everything about them is okay. Sooner or later, after 1 year, 2 years, they come back. Now they are bringing new people, and they are not even telling us with honesty that their decisions in the past were wrong, and they are telling us to just flow by their wayside. It's not going to happen. We've got to be very calculative and ask these people why they did what they did to us. What were some of the things that they saw? Which question they did not ask, for which they brought these people to us to tell us that they were the best? I am not saying that we have not made wrong choices, but they have to be honest. They have to be authentic. And that is not happening enough. And this is why we always hold them accountable. Until then, folks, have a pleasant evening. By God's willing, we're going to be right back here. Thank you for your evening. Thank you for your time here this evening. Bye-bye.
Some days are good, but the downfall of men, yeah. Mama Jesus Christ, yeah. The piercing on his side, they know him in his palm. They cry him way for throne. They know him to the cross. They put him in the grave. They all started rejoicing, yes, because of his downfall. The grave could not hold him. The grave began to grumble. But I know man is this so. He makes my captive tremble. Early on Sunday morning, I see power came from heaven and bust the grave wide open, yeah. And Jesus resurrected. Because he lives, my friend, and you can face tomorrow too. Jesus Christ has risen, yeah. Sister, you will rise again. I say you will shine, my friend. The enemies will be shame, oh. The enemies will disappear, yeah. The teachable them will run away. I say your life go shine, man. I see your life go teach, man. The downfall of for men, yeah. It's not the end of his life.